Get nasty on a Tuesday. It's the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Dan McLaughlin in for the first 2 hours of the show today. I'm Anthony Stalter, 2:03. Your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. So your Blues might not be able to win some of those games against the Coyotes or the Sharks, but boy, they elevate talent. They elevate their play against top talent, I should say.
Yeah.
How about that win last night? Jordan Binnington, outstanding once again for the Blues. He kicks aside, 33 of
34 saves.
34 saves in that 2-1 overtime win. Now, I feel like we talk about this a lot, Dan. You could look at it one of two ways. He was great. He also gave up a bunch of shots. But to beat that team in Vegas after the performance that you had last weekend, that's all that matters.
Okay, I've got two things I've now figured out with the Blues. One is something I said from day one when we were talking about, we were on the air, and we're saying, okay, what's the key to the season? Mm-hmm. My key to the season simply was your goaler has got to be awesome because the rest of your parts are suspect. I think that's fair.
Yes.
Okay. At times, the goaler has been awesome. So last night he was awesome. I have another one, though. Mm-hmm. I'm going to add to it. Actually, I got a bunch.
Okay.
But I'm going to only go to one. You got to score first.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. They're 12-0 when they score first. After a first period when they trail, they're 0-8. They're 0-9 when trailing after 2. Mm-hmm. So it tells me something happens when they fall behind because there's so little margin for error that I think they feel like I've got to be perfect. And so all of a sudden, when you fall behind, you get out of maybe your system and what you're playing. Your defense, something's not quite right there. Something's not quite right clicking on the power play, which has been the key all season for them. I mean, they've had a tough power play go this year, but something happens when they don't score first. So score first.
Maybe Marsh can kind of break down the X's and O's of it, but I always relate this to football. So if you're a team that falls behind, Dan, can you get that?
I actually thought that I had this thing off. That's on me. It's 100% on me. That's a bad move.
Somebody's listening. They agreed with your take. They wanted to leave you a message.
Oh, I just got it. What a hell of a hot take that was. Yeah, thank
absolutely.
you. Leave us a text at the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646.
Don't call Dan directly. Leave us the text message.
Yeah,
right.
Mic drop it or text line. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. In football,
it's amateur hour. That's on me.
You're fine. You're fine. If you're a team that can run the ball and play good defense, but you don't have much of an explosive passing attack, you have to keep things close. And you have to keep things into the fourth quarter. You got to be able to run the ball, kind of control the clock, do all that stuff. If you're a team that's explosive, you don't mind falling behind because you know you at least have the weapons. I don't think the Blues have the weapons when they fall behind to erase 2-goal leads.
Exactly.
2-goal deficits for them.
So you got to keep it tight.
When they score first, I wonder then if it frees them up a little bit to concentrate maybe more on defense. Again, Mars, you could maybe break down the X's and O's of this. But it just seems logical that this is not a team without the top-end scoring that's going to be able to come back in most games. Now, I do think that we're going to see a regression to the mean with some of the records that you just threw out there, falling behind and leading, but there's got to be something to this strategy-wise.
One more thing, Marshy, and then you can help on this one, too. 6 shorthanded goals, yet only 7 power play goals. Now, that's got to have
funky.
That's got to have a regression to the mean, too. I would think. Now, Marshy, go right ahead, please.
I think if we want to break down the X's and O's, I mean, look at the high danger scoring chances for the Golden Knights last night. 20 high danger scoring chances. And Jordan Binnington was just simply fantastic. There's your X's and O's right there. That is why they won the game.
He was, but do you think there's something to when the Blues get up by a goal in the first period, they just lead 1-0 at any point, that they're a different team with a lead as opposed to when they fall behind? I mean, those numbers that you drew out there,
you have to think so because the numbers back it up.
Right.
I don't know if that's a systems thing, if that is just a mental thing that the team can't get over right now. I have no idea, but at some point they need to figure that out because you're going to be down in games throughout the remainder of the season. It's just simple as that. and you have to find ways to come back. And right now, we're not seeing that. But last night, give them credit, they did lock up the Golden Knights for the most part. Like I said, Jordan Binnington did most of the work. He was unbelievable last night, it didn't seem like they could get one by him, and they finally did. I think Jack Eichel had like 7 shots. He accounted for like a fifth of the team's shots all night. He was great, but yeah, I don't know if like last night, I would definitely love to get the feel for Blues fans right now. Are they excited about that win, or does that win make them a little concerned that they did have to rely on Jordan Binnington to win that game? I know I feel a little negative right now, but
I would imagine they're thrilled.
I would. Well, yeah, you have to be. You have to be. I realize. I think that we as fans tend to say, well, there's more weight on the loss to the Sharks than there is the wins over the Avalanche or the Golden Knights. But logically, it doesn't make any damn sense.
I know. I think that's why people are so frustrated, because they can beat the top teams in the league.
Sure.
Yet they can't, for some reason, pull together a 60-minute game against one of the worst teams in the NHL.
But you know what's interesting? If you look at the other teams, say for Colorado, Colorado's got 32 points. That's 5 more than you have, but you did beat them. The Stars have 31 points. The Jets with 30. The Coyotes with 28, and the Blues with 27. If you look at the division, a lot of these teams are playing inconsistently. I think we tend to just focus on what the Blues are doing, and then we can't see the forest through the trees. But if you have a wide angle here on some of the other teams in the division, they've been inconsistent as well. They've had maybe not the roller coaster to the same degree as the Blues, but there's been inconsistent play all around the NHL this year, save for the Bruins, who have 37 points, and the Rangers, who have 37 points. We knew going in that this team didn't stack up roster-wise to some of the best teams in the league. So if you think they're a wild card team, which I do, a playoff team, they're gonna show a lot of inconsistency throughout the course of the year. That's what teams do when you're kind of a wild card or fringe playoff team.
And we've been saying that basically for the last couple of weeks, as it's really played out in the first, the quarter point of the season now, is that they are consistently inconsistent. That's who this team is. Mm-hmm. And to me, there's just not a lot of margin for error. No. I mean, they don't have it, and they don't have a lot of firepower to come back when you're down 2-0, 3-0 to your point. So they got to keep it close. And how do you keep it close? You can have an off night defensively sometimes, and your goaltender bails you out. And I think last night, there was a ton of odd man rushes in the first period of last night's game, and Binnington set the tone with those saves. And I think when you get a save like that or two, it changes momentum in a game. And certainly, maybe the momentum, shifted, calm things down. You're on the road, and then you get into the game and the rhythm of the game, and that's how things change.
Mm-hmm. I wish this team, though, could string together like 3, 4, 5 wins just to show us, like, okay, they can string together. And then, of course, they'll probably have a lull in the season. Every team does, but this back and forth, like, you're not really getting a sense of what this team is. And you see them play a full 60 minutes some nights. You see their goaltender and Jordan Binnington steal a game. I'll say it. He stole that game last night. I think everyone would agree with that. And then sometimes you'll see the team just lose, 3-0 in the first period, game over, like they did against Arizona. Like, I wish there was somewhat of a consistency there to make me feel good about this team, even though we do think that they will be a wild card team. And like you said, they'll go back and forth, and that's what a wild card team does.
You guys play paddleball?
No.
Paddleball or pickleball?
Oh, pickleball.
Yeah,
Thank
pickleball.
You.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They play it with paddles.
Yes.
So it's pickleball. I've never played, but right now it's on prime time on ESPN, and it's taking me back to my youth of watching Australian rules football as they fill time to figure out what the hell to put on the air.
That makes sense. I didn't know where you're going with that.
It was all the time it was on, and I've never seen live pickleball, but now I can check that off the list.
It's absolutely thrilling.
Yeah.
Dan will keep you updated on that.
Thank you.
It's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Dan in from 2 to 4. Jamie Rivers in from 4 to 6. So we'll hit some more Blues in the second half of the show. Want to give you an update on the hot stove. Some Shohei Ohtani rumors, and if you're a Cardinals fan and you're a little worried about one of the teams in your own division, this news won't help you. That's next on 101 ESPN. more Cardinals holiday ticket packs to give away throughout the show today, so hopefully you stay tuned in to the Fast Lane. Dan McLaughlin in for the first 2 hours of the show. Jamie Rivers in from 4 to 6. I'm Anthony Stalter. Let's go to the hot stove. Shohei Ohtani. A lot of rumors involving Shohei today, including the Dodgers, specifically manager Dave Roberts, confirming that the organization met with Shohei Ohtani a couple of days ago in Los Angeles. The other rumors involving Shohei is that the Blue Jays are interested and they want to meet or have met with Shohei Ohtani. John Morosi says the Braves are in on Shohei Ohtani and the Giants continue to be linked to him. Fringe mentions of the Cubs, but Dan, the teams that we keep hearing, Dodgers, Braves, Blue Jays, Giants.
Angels.
Angels?
You're talking about with Shohei Ohtani?
Yeah.
Going back to the Angels.
I have not seen that.
There is some that believe that he would want to settle back into a comfort zone of somewhere that he's used to. So not that there's rules for him and rules for others, but there's some leniency in some things that he goes through, is my understanding. For instance, he doesn't talk to the media unless he's pitched that day and he'll talk afterwards. But then other than that, you're not going to get him. There's some markets that won't put up with that. They're going to say, no. How do you let this guy who's a tremendous player and a star player have to take the brunt of everything when things go good, things go bad, and he's got to talk to the media. You're going to have to do, just little things like that. I think there's familiarity with him and how to handle him, and maybe there's a comfort level with him going back there because of that.
I've also heard the same thing, and if he does decide to go back to the Angels, I will not feel bad if he never wins a World Series.
Well, no, you can't. Right?
No,
he made his decision on that one. Cubs, by the way, according to Bob Nightingale, the Cubs' optimism signing free agent superstar Shohei Ohtani has significantly waned. Again, leaving the Dodgers, Blue Jays. Oh, here you go. Angels and Giants likely finalists. It's usually somebody else, though. It's usually a team that comes out of nowhere that signs one of these big time free agents.
Yeah.
Because I remember John Lester, I don't know if the Cubs were necessarily a long shot, but you heard a lot of West Coast when John Lester eventually signed with Cubs.
You remember Theo Epstein said that he would go to John Lester's farmhouse, hunting camp, whatever it is, and pour deer urine on himself to make sure he could attract deer while John was hunting.
That's nice of Theo.
So he really wanted him. They
won a World Series, so I guess that line of thinking was that all-in line of thinking worked out.
Yeah, and so their connection goes well beyond their days in Boston.
I would say so.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the Cubs, Bob Nightingale also reporting that the Cubs and Rays have discussed a trade package.
Oh, this was your tease.
Yes.
Okay.
For Tyler Glasnow. A pitcher that the Cardinals maybe are interested in. Certainly a name that we have bantied about here on these airwaves. Christopher Morel would be part of that trade package. I think it's interesting. Even we're going in the rumor mill here, so we don't know if this is accurate, if this is just speculation. But I do think it's interesting, Dan, to hear an actual name thrown out there like a Christopher Morel in a deal for Tyler Glasnow. I don't know what the Cardinals' version of Christian Morel would be, but this is if this trade suggestion rumor is accurate, you're talking about the Cubs dealing from the big league roster to get Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah, that's the point I was going to make. And he's only 24, right, with 26 bombs last year, under 400 at-bats that he had a season ago.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, I don't know about you guys. If Tampa Bay called me and said, we want to talk about one of the personnel that you have,
I'm promoting him.
I'm thinking I'm either promoting him or what am I not seeing with this player that they want? Because they find these diamonds in the rough, if you will, and they turn out to be really good players, really good pitchers, really good, everyday players. We saw that with, obviously, Randy Arozarena. They gave up. You trade a guy, you're giving up on him to an extent. The lefty Liberatore, when everybody else in baseball is like, man, he's got a snapdragon for a curveball. He's tall. He's lefty. This is the guy that is going to be the next thing. And he wasn't, and hasn't been yet. And the jury is still out on that. I mean, who knows?
We talked about it at the time, Dan, but even more so now when you look back at it, they gave up the top left-hander in their organization for Randy Arozarena and Martinez. Right? Wasn't that the Jose Martinez trade?
Was involved in that, yeah.
So it's Jose Martinez and Randy Arozarena, and the Rays were willing to give up their top left-hander.
Yeah. Didn't make a lot of sense.
Didn't make a lot of sense. Now
from
we
their
know
perspective.
Why.
Now, the Cubs, if you look at it, they got Hendricks, they got Steele, they got Tyone, they got Assad.
Yeah.
So they need a fifth, and that would make sense to go get him. My only thing
rotation.
With
It's not great, but it's good.
It's pretty good. Glasnow, though, has got to go more than what he's giving you in an average season, which has been not a ton of innings at all. Now, you can counter that and say, well, we can build up our bullpen. Guys don't go deep anyway. Average major league starter was 5 1/3. Their outing last year. And I get all that, but I mean,
You're giving up a young outfielder, though.
Yeah.
With power, potentially.
Yeah. But I guess if you're the Cubs, though, you're saying we get him here, we sign him long term. I mean, that's the way I would look at it, is that once we get him here in our environment, we can outbid anybody. We can make sure that he stays here.
Well, let's continue to walk down this road. Again, if Bob Nightingale's report is accurate, that the Cubs and Rays would be interested in a Tyler Glasnow trade package that included Christopher Morel. To some degree, this also makes sense why the Rays might be willing to trade Randy Arozarena.
And where are you going with this?
Because Christopher Morel, is an outfielder. So
just one for you get your spot goes, you got to fill it. There you go. That makes sense.
And maybe they'd be interested in signing, Morel, who's young, buy out some arbitrary. I don't know. I'm pulling at the thread a little bit here, but otherwise, I don't know why the Rays would be so willing to give up a player in Arozarena who's been so good for them.
Mookie Betts, by the way, is going to go to second base every day next year. Would the Dodgers be willing to get into those sweepstakes and bring in another outfielder maybe? I mean, there's all kinds of moving parts with this, things I've read with Arozarena that make it really interesting as a baseball fan to see various spots that he could wind up. But it looks like it will not be talking about Arozarena with the Tampa Bay Rays next year. It looks like they're ready to move on.
It's interesting.
It's because you got to start thinking about when these guys make money. When are they going to start making money? And if they're in another market, they're probably saying, I don't want to give up on this guy. He's been a vital part of our team since 2020. When he went off in the postseason was remarkable. But when you start getting to these arbitration years and you start putting up numbers, that means you start getting paid. And, historically, the Tampa Bay Rays are not teams that want to go deep into free agency with players.
At all.
Yeah.
And there's a long list of the players that they decided to trade before their time was up. I mean,
man, are they smart with what they do.
They're very smart. And then they just use that trade to supplement what they have in the farm system, and then that trade winds up being guys that kind of complete their core the next time around.
Yeah.
But Evan Longoria, David Price, who else? Blake Snell. These are all guys that they traded.
Got rid of him in the middle of a multi-year deal.
Right.
Which was kind of crazy to me. They had cost certainty with him, and it was too rich for their blood.
Dan, speaking of Blake Snell, there's not a ton on him at this point. I wonder if he's waiting to see what happens with Shohei Ohtani. Maybe the team that misses out, or the teams that miss out on Shohei Ohtani, the market will be robust for Blake Snell. But we haven't heard a ton on him since he won the Cy Young.
Let me ask you this, though. When you look at his numbers and you start breaking down, and hey, albeit when I say all this, he won the Cy Young Award, and he was obviously a very good pitcher. But his walks per 9 is about 4.5 to 5 a game.
Yeah.
Which means that you're going to get 5 innings out of him. Again, starters don't go deep in 2023 and 2024. I understand that. But what is the value, though, for a guy that can give you – he's going to miss a lot of bats, but if he walks that many guys, I wonder how many of these teams are saying, love to have him, just don't want him at that price.
Right.
Can't do it. Can't do it because he walks too many.
And it also goes to your bigger point about these pitchers are still getting, big time money for working less. And let's be honest about that. They're still getting market value prices for 5 1/3.
Here's the other thing, too. If I'm Blake Snell, I'm waiting on Ohtani and to see how teams approach his contract as a pitcher. So the reports are going to come out when he signs, and he's going to get X amount of dollars, and you're going to break it down, and then you're going to hear the reports about, well, they valued him as a pitcher by this much money, and then they valued him as a hitter with this much money. So just take the hitting part out. Just look at what he does as a pitcher. Then Yamamoto, what he's about to get, and then the next guy on that pecking order is Blake Snell. Yeah. So let the market drive itself up. And if you were in that marketplace, and then all of a sudden you're on the outside looking in, then are you then looking at Blake Snell, and that's where the money's going to come from,
right?
Just waiting for the market to kind of set itself with those two guys.
Yeah, it's Ohtani, it's Yamamoto, Jordan Montgomery. I mean, these are all guys that Blake Snell will either be in the same conversation as, or in the case of Montgomery, he should get more than Montgomery. So there's a lot that needs to be sorted out on the open market here for Blake Snell.
Absolutely.
One team in sports absolutely decimated today. Decimated. It'd be the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I knew you were going football. I knew it.
What a rough night.
It's not even on my rundown.
What a rough night for Duval County last night. We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN. Went to the Missouri Athletic Club earlier today. Didn't see my guy Dan there today, but it still is our MAC. You were there?
I was there.
You were probably in the steam room, weren't you?
Just hanging with the fellows.
That's what Dan does there. But there's a lot of people that you never know who you're going to see at the Missouri Athletic Club. But from a workout standpoint, it's great. Personal training, they do a great job with. They have events that go on, especially during the holiday season. If you're a family member, you're like, I don't really know what to do here. If you remember the MAC, they've got holiday events going on for Christmas and also the New Year's. They do it right when they host an event, especially downtown. Man, it's always to the nines. They do a great job. That's our MAC, Dan, the Missouri Athletic Club.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues picked up a victory in Vegas last night, a 2-1 overtime win against the Golden Knights. Jordan Binnington was unbelievable last night as he stopped 33 of 34 in the Blues win. The Blues will be back in action tomorrow night at home, taking on the Golden Knights once again. Pregame starts at 7. Puck drop is at 8, and you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Also last night, Monday Night Football, the Cincinnati Bengals defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars 34-31 in overtime. Trevor Lawrence suffered a high ankle sprain, but will not miss significant time, according to head coach Doug Peterson. We're going to dive into that one next, right here in the Fast Lane. I'm Andrew Marsh, and this Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Well, wound up being an absolutely devastating night for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are in the mix, or were in the mix, to clinch that top seed in the AFC. The Chiefs lose on Sunday night. The Dolphins are still, as of right now, in control of that top pick. But the Jaguars, again, they're right in it. So they host the Bengals last night, the Joe Burrow-less Bengals. And Jake Browning, pride of Washington, gets his second start. First one was a disaster. And before we dive too deeply into Jacksonville, let's give a lot of credit to Jake Browning and Zach Taylor.
Oh boy, was he good.
He was outstanding last night. He threw the ball vertically, Dan. I mean, early on you could tell Zach Taylor, who I think deserves a lot of credit for putting together a game plan that he knew Jake Browning could handle. But early on, it was a lot of screen passes over to Jamar Chase. Went forward on fourth down, a first drive, got sacked midfield. Jaguars go right to the end zone and score. Like, this is not good. This is going to get ugly fast.
First of all, that kid was awesome in high school. Did you see some of the numbers that he put up in high school?
He put up good numbers at Washington. I didn't see the high school stuff.
Very good at Washington, and he was the National Player of the Year in high school.
Was he?
And then he went to Washington and put up big numbers there in the Pac-10, now the Pac-12, now the defunct conference.
Yeah.
Which is a money grab anyway, and that's what the college football playoff is all about. But I digress. It's a guy that gets a chance, and he's been around for a while. I mean, he's been around for a while, and I think the last game he started was maybe in 2020 prior to this season.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It sounds about right.
Yeah.
Because I think he was with Washington in 2019 or 2018.
And then it was San Francisco maybe, or is that Beathard I'm thinking of?
C.J. Beathard was definitely with San Francisco.
Yeah, that was his last start was in 2020, I believe. But then this guy steps up and, gives you a chance.
Well, it's one of those. These are the stories that you like to tell your kids because he put in the work in the offseason.
Yeah.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were talking about it last night on the broadcast that he had hired a personal trainer. Maybe it wasn't a personal trainer as much as like a QB coach or something, and he kept pouring in money with no guarantees, but he wanted to make sure that if the time ever came that he was ready to go. Last night, he had an opportunity to do a lot more than he did last week, and he put on a show. So good for him, and now the Bengals are still hanging in the mix.
What do you do if you're at the NFL offices and it's Tuesday morning and you walk in and you say, by the way, got another one down, Trevor Lawrence, he's out.
Yeah,
we're not sure how bad it is. It could be a high ankle sprain, which could be worse than a break. I mean, he could be missing significant time, and that's just one of literally probably 40 to 50 guys that have been under center this year.
Right, and Trevor Lawrence, his mobility is part of his game. So this isn't a situation where I think you rush him back. You got to make do with C.J. Beathard, but you also lost Christian Kirk.
Yeah, that's the other one.
He made the play last night. It was the first play of the game offensively for Jacksonville. Kind of turned a little bit. Looked like maybe it's a groin injury. I don't know what the official injury is. Core, I guess. But he could require surgery. That team looked different without Christian Kirk. Now, they still hung 31 on the board, but you could tell they were kind of forcing it a lot to Calvin Ridley. Evan Ingram finally had a kind of a bigger game, reached the end zone. Travis Etienne has been great for them. But, again, it's a little bit of a different offense without Christian Kirk. Now, of course, without Trevor Lawrence. Man, Houston's nipping at your heels as it is. That was a brutal loss.
So I've got, correct me if I'm wrong with this, okay? I've got 10 teams with a realistic chance, and those 10 are 500 or above in the AFC, okay? Mm-hmm. And I have the Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens, and the Jaguars in.
Those are your division winners.
I think they're in. That leaves the Bills, Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Colts, Texans. 6 teams for 3 spots. I mean, the AFC is loaded, man. It's fun. It's going to be a fun 5 weeks here down the stretch.
And how many of those teams don't have quarterbacks? They're starting quarterbacks.
The Texans do, and they also have the easiest schedule remaining among these teams.
Which makes sense because they're a last-place team a year ago.
Exactly. They've got the Jets, they've got the Titans twice, they got the Browns, and they've got the Colts.
And the Colts defensively are terrible, but offensively they've looked good, even with Gardner Minshew. So the Colts don't have their starting quarterback, and Minshew's been around a little while, but still, I mean, you don't have the guy you started the season with in Anthony Richardson, so he's down. Cleveland doesn't have their starting quarterback. Although Joe Flacco, I thought, looked pretty decent.
38 and slinging it, man.
He looked pretty good. I don't know if it was the rest that did him some work or something, but he
has a lot of rest.
I thought he played pretty well against the Rams.
I thought he did too.
So Deshaun Watson is out.
Yeah.
So the Browns are missing their starting quarterback. The Steelers are missing their starting quarterback. The Bengals are missing their starting quarterback. Jacksonville now. The Colts are. Who else? The Jets. Obviously, the Patriots don't have a quarterback. Am I missing anybody else in the AFC?
Vikings in the NFC.
So the AFC's got 6. If you go over to the NFC.
No, it's a ton.
Giants, Vikings, Saints now. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows with Derek Carr?
Falcons don't have a good quarterback.
You stop it. Desmond Ritter's been lighting. He's been okay.
Give the ball to
Bijan.
Yeah, get it to him.
3. So 3 teams. So what is it? 8 starting quarterbacks out?
Yeah, I'm dead serious when I say this. The champion of the NFL football season might be the last QB standing.
Man.
I'm being serious. And if your backups aren't ready to go, you don't have a chance. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now, the injuries in the quarterback position are enormous. And you've had the aggressive enforcement of roughing the passer, which really doesn't make a difference right now because you don't see it called hardly ever.
Well, it doesn't make a difference when you snap your Achilles or you tear up your ankle.
None of these injuries have been egregious.
Kirk was running out of bounds, wasn't he?
No, he was still.
Was he in the pocket?
Yeah, he was running around. But a lot of these have been non-contact injuries.
Yeah.
As far as Trevor Lawrence goes, from what I've seen from Doug Peterson, he said he's stable, and they haven't even ruled him out for next week. Mm-hmm. So there's a possibility that he could play. Now, I doubt he does, but I don't think that it'll affect them the rest of the year in terms of him playing. Now, the way he plays could be affected, but we saw Pat Mahomes play last year on a bum ankle, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl.
That was a gutsy performance.
And you've had the league try to do everything they can to protect these guys. Mm-hmm. You know, like holding calls. All right, he was holding, so what? The quarterback didn't get killed on that play. Yeah. Intentional grounding, I mean, who knows what that is anymore? I can't tell what it is anymore. Mm-hmm. Because they're not going to call it more times than not to protect the quarterback. I get that. They're the most vital position on the field. I think that the league has got a real issue right now with trying to keep their best players, most important players, for entertainment value on the field. Scoring is down. Mm-hmm. You tune in to see scoring. You tune in to see excitement. Yep. And when that's happening, that's a problem for the league.
Yes.
And that stinks that the Jags probably won't be in the playoffs now because their starting quarterback is injured. Same with all these other teams. They just won't be in the playoffs.
What are you doing right now, Marsh?
You're going college football playoff on us.
Oh, that's what he's doing. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah,
well,
what
are you talking about?
Marsh?
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Yeah, see, the NFL doesn't have a committee. They let it play out on the field.
Oh, they go by records.
They go by records.
Interesting. I guess I can tell where he stands and where you stand.
It's funny. We got an email today, and there was a listener who didn't really like, I don't know, it was our take or my take yesterday. Said it was selfish talking about how we didn't talk about Florida State, the players, and the landscape of Florida State getting screwed.
What?
We did.
I made a whole case for them to be in the college football playoff.
We did. The only thing I said was, if you're the committee, they kind of said what we were all thinking, in that Florida State probably wouldn't have been competitive against Michigan or whoever without Jordan Travis. That's what they said. We could get into Bama and the SEC and all that. That's what they said. And it's the truth. Both things can be true. Florida State absolutely got screwed. And the players, I feel horribly for. It was bust your rear end, win every game, win your conference, you're in. Except they weren't. That's awful for them.
What do you guys think the line would have been if we were going to talk to our friends about this kind of, because you and I, we try to help our friends in that regard.
Absolutely.
And you do too, Marcia. You listen a lot to, you're one of our friends that we like to help out.
No doubt.
So if we were going to help our friends, what do you think the line would have been, Michigan, Florida State?
Okay, so we know that.
I think this is part of it.
We know that Georgia.
Not the betting part of it, but the idea, let me just say this. The idea would be your most competitive games.
Yes.
Which is going to be the most exciting, which is going to be the most sellable for television.
Right.
And your best ratings. Doesn't make it right, but I think that's part of it.
I agree with that. Again, both things can be true. You asked the line. Let's look at it this way. Georgia's a 14-point favorite in essentially a meaningless bowl game. Now, I say meaningless from the standpoint of after that, that's it. Obviously, the players playing in it, the coaches, all that. It means something, but I'm saying it's not a playoff game or anything like that. So a 14-point favorite, Georgia is, against this version of Florida State, which is likely to start Tate Rodemaker, their backup quarterback. He'd be healthy for that one. If Georgia was a 5.5-point favorite over Bama, and Michigan is a 1.5-point favorite over Bama, Michigan probably is a 10.5, 11, 12-point favorite over Florida State.
The only problem I had with it was that you had the QB that would be the second string, Rodemaker. Mm-hmm. Now, if you would have had Glenn going into that game, I think you have zero shot. I think you've got at least a shot with your backup QB. At least a shot. However, those two combined to go 20 of 47. The average yards per attempt, just take a guess what it was.
4.6.
4.
What? It was, wow.
4.
That's awful.
So you're not going to beat those teams doing that.
No.
You're just not. And I understand why the committee said they don't have a shot with the backup QB. I lean a little bit towards the second QB and giving them a shot than I do with the third.
Right.
I watched that entire Florida State game against Louisville.
It was rough.
It was terrible. They weren't going to move the football. Their defense is exceptional. Mm-hmm. Their ends are pros. They're going to be really good players.
Yeah.
That's how they won. I just don't know if they could have stayed in a game with these other 3 teams or 4 teams, if you want to say that they were competing against.
Yeah, the problem is Michigan has an even better defense. So
yes.
and a better offense than Louisville, obviously.
You don't think that they could give this guy a month to figure it out? They have a month till the game.
Mike
Rodemaker. You give this guy a month of practice to get used to taking first-team reps. He's healthy. You don't think they have a shot against Michigan, who's been terrible in the semifinal both times they've been in it?
They have. This is one of the best defenses in the nation. I saw Rodemaker.
Because they played Ohio State? Because they played Penn State?
I mean, they shut down everybody.
Those are the only 2 teams that they played that were good.
But so Rodemaker, right? As much as we want to dog on Kyle McCord's a better quarterback than,
for sure.
And they shut him down.
And Michigan would probably win that game, but that doesn't mean that you don't give Florida State an opportunity. One, like Dan said, they have a really good defense. Mm-hmm. Last time I checked, football is an 11-man sport when you go out on the field. That defense is part of their team. You have to consider that. Plus they went undefeated.
We had the conversation. The three of us had a conversation last Friday of if Florida State wins, are they in? I said yes, absolutely. I was shocked that they were left out.
No, I know, and I'm not saying that you were part of the committee. I mean, we don't know, but they haven't come out with their votes.
I wasn't shocked after watching the game on Saturday. Prior to the game, I would have said no way
that they were left out.
Yeah, Florida State undefeated, they should be in. But I mean, we should have expected this. I mean, college football has always been a beauty contest. It always has been that way. When you look at the bowl games, the matchups, how it's worked before, but there was wiggle room for the committee to decide the quote-unquote the best teams. Now, I just gave you the numbers with Florida State and the average yard of attempt. We're talking 4 yards on completions, okay? If you go back in the 9 years of the college football playoff, the winning teams have averaged 39 points. Average margin of victory has been 19. My point is, you got to have offense to win. And if they don't have any offense, there's no chance, because the history of this thing tells you in those 9 years, you're not going to be competitive in those games.
Right.
And I think that was part of the process of what they looked at.
Well, I'll tell you, history also shows that Michigan will be losing that semifinal.
And why is that, Marsh?
Because they're not good in the semifinal.
And why is that, Marsh? Why do you think Michigan's going to lose this season?
Well, because they're playing Bama.
There you go.
But, I mean, they lost to TCU last year, who got smoked.
They didn't have their signs, though.
It's very true. They didn't have their signs.
You make a great point.
All right, that's Dan McLaughlin. That's Andrew Marsh. I think Florida State should be in. I also think we would have seen that movie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I do think that Florida State earned the right to be in the college football playoff. When they lost 27-3 to Michigan, we all would have been butthurt that we didn't see a good game. And then nobody would have said anything, right?
And
I get the moral aspect of this. I really do. I think telling those kids that you didn't make the playoff after everything you did, I think
did everything you had to
is
do.
horrible.
Well, then
I also think the committee gave us the two best matchups.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Again, both things can be true.
I'll agree with that. And I'm not. When the games happen, I'll completely forget about Florida State, and
There
I
you
won't
go.
care.
Yeah.
But beside the point, why do they play the games then? Why are they playing the games? Are we going to play the game on paper, or are we going to play the game on the field?
Let's remember, though,
a year from now, we don't have to worry about this.
this is sport
to some degree.
that just whacked a historic conference in the Pac-12.
Yeah, they don't care.
You think they care
about money.
about? Yeah, it's about money.
Yeah, good point.
Period.
Yep. All right. It's a Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. We'll get into. I want to ask Dan something that actually, you know what? There's a report that the Cardinals could be interested in one of their former players, and I want to throw that at Dan because Dan's been really hot on something with the Cardinals. It's next on 101 ESPN. Dan, could I interest you in a reunion with Jordan Hicks?
I'd be interested in that, sure.
Okay, because the rumor mill has it that the Cardinals might be interested in bringing back Jordan Hicks. Now, I bring this to you because you have been somebody, not the only person certainly, but somebody that has been saying, hey, have we looked at the numbers for the bullpen for the Cardinals last year?
And this is before they went out and got Gibson and Lynn and Sonny Gray.
Correct.
I was saying,
you didn't pivot once.
No.
You've been saying this about the pen. So John Heyman of the New York Post reports that the Cardinals are interested in a reunion with Jordan Hicks. Heyman also notes that the Orioles, the Astros, the Rangers are among the other teams interested in Hicks, who compiled a 3.29 ERA, a 1.36 WHIP, and an 81 to 32 strikeout to walk ratio over 65 2/3 innings between the Cards and the Blue Jays last year. I mean, Hicks, I thought, really came into his own when they gave him the closer position last year.
I did too.
And I think if they sign him, he should go back to being a closer, quite frankly.
Interesting with his stuff, I'm surprised he doesn't have more swing and miss. Now, he gets it. Mm-hmm. He's got a really high ground ball rate, and he'll get soft contact against him. But with his stuff, as hard as he throws, with the movement that he has with a sinker, it is surprising to me he doesn't have as much swing and miss. So generally speaking, if I'm the Cardinals, and whether it's Jordan Hicks or the guy I'd love to see is Josh Hader here. I don't know if they'd want to go deep into the waters with that in the free agency pool. I understand that. But you look at the back end of their games and what they could have, it'd be Ryan Helsley, it would be Hader, and you'd have Giovanni Gallegos when one of those two is down. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the back end of that game becomes really tough for the opposition. And they needed innings, obviously, last year out of their starters just to get to the bullpen. I think now they've got that. Now what do you have in your bullpen to close games out? I mean, this was a team that had 41 leads lost last year, and they blew 28 saves. I mean, awful. You win half of those games, you're back to 500, and then it's a different September. Mm-hmm. Things happen in September when you're in the hunt. There's a different feeling when you get to the ballpark. You win games that you're probably not supposed to win. You beat up on the teams that you're supposed to beat up on. That's how baseball works after 5 months. And so if you're in the hunt, it gives you a shot.
I also wonder, I don't know if you heard some of the Mo audio from yesterday when he was on with MLB Network, but Matt Vasgersian asked him, should we be surprised if you don't dive into kind of your farm system to supplement the need for the bullpen? And Mo said flat out, yeah, that would be surprising. So he's been on the phone with teams. I don't know what he's willing to give up. I don't know if you give up the.
I do know one player he's willing to give up.
Tyler O'Neill.
There you go.
I don't. If you're another team,
did that surprise you? He came out publicly and said that.
I was a little surprised. Not that Tyler O'Neill's on the trade block, but that he would say that. That to me screams he's not getting anything, and this is like a last ditch. Hey, don't forget we've got a sale going on.
I looked at it that way, 100%. I thought, man, he's just not getting what he wants out of it.
Why everybody knows O'Neill's on the market? Why mention it?
Yeah, I was a little surprised by that, because even more times than not, he plays it close to the vest. He's not going to tell you that Anthony's on the trade block, Dan's on the trade block, and first come, first get.
Right.
That just doesn't happen. And really, in sports, it doesn't happen.
No.
And certainly from Mo and what has been his history here, you just don't hear that very often. But I think it does tell you that they're done with him. I mean, you come out and say that,
100%.
You're saying we've had enough. We've seen this drill, and no thanks.
Right,
we're done.
And Derek Gould asked Mo if watching, Adolis Garcia, Randy Arozarena gave him, any pause to whether or not he wanted to trade Tyler O'Neill, and his reply was, "Yeah, he'll probably end up getting MVP votes." So I wonder if that kind of adds on to the fact that they are trying to move him, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, no, he can still be an MVP caliber player, but we're willing to move on from him, and we're trying to get something in return." I wonder if he is trying to kind of bolster his stock.
I think he's just being facetious.
Yeah. Don't forget that 2021 season.
Yeah,
and he's available.
Everybody can look at that, though. Marshy, I think he's just trying to say, you know what? I've missed on some guys, and they became MVP candidates, and go watch. This will probably happen too.
Right.
Wink, wink. Jokingly.
I agree. Yeah,
Jokingly.
tongue in cheek for sure. Tis the season of giving, and 101 ESPN wants to give you free Cardinals tickets. Text in now to 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for an opportunity to score a Cardinals holiday pack of tickets. Today we're giving away a Cardinals Cubs ticket pack. This 5-game pack features tickets to 5 weekend games next season to see the Cardinals host the Cubs. The Cardinals Cubs pack, along with all the Cardinals holiday ticket packs, are now on sale, with some starting as low as just $55. Learn more about the Cardinals holiday ticket packs at 101ESPN.com. Here's your trivia question today. Earlier, speaking of the Cubs, we mentioned a pitcher that they might be interested in. I kind of broke that down. Which pitcher could the Cubs be interested in, or at least that's what the rumors are suggesting? 314-399-9646. If you have the correct answer, and when you text into the Air Comfort Service text line and you're the 101st texter, you will win the Cubs Cardinals holiday pack, courtesy of 101 ESPN. The Cardinals also, Dan, mentioned most specifically yesterday, talked about how the outfield is likely Walker, Newt, and Edman.
And we've been saying that.
Yes. I want to throw something at you that I think you're on the same page with me on. Maybe that's what Mo said yesterday about the outfield is going to lead us to a situation which I think the Cardinals should adopt. That's next on 101 ESPN. 5 Your Time Check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler with Dan McLaughlin and Andrew Marsh. I'm Anthony Stalter, Danny Mack in for the next hour until Jamie steps in from 4 to 6. Jamie up late last night, certainly with the Blues and traveling and all that.
Long travel.
Yeah, long travel from Vegas. Dan, one of the things that this has been a hope of mine will be a hope of mine throughout the offseason and spring training, is the Cardinals go with more of a stagnant offense. I realize they don't have 1-9 what the Braves have. But I do think that they're closer to that lineup. I don't mean talent-wise, but
you mean keeping the lineup as is for the most part night after night.
Then what they've been trying to do, I feel like for the last couple of years, which is extreme version, but like the Giants. We're going to roll out. We're going to definitely play the matchups. We're going to, we're going to have a lefty lineup, right lineup. We're going to mix and match and all this stuff. To hell with that. To hell with that. You got Goldschmidt on one corner. You got Arenado on another. You got a couple of young players that need as much reps as possible. Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker. Newt, there's no he's an everyday player. Tommy Edmonds an everyday player. Contreras is an everyday player. If you want to kind of mix and match a little bit with Donovan and Gorman or the DH, fine. But stop with the, one day every lineup is different based on the matchup. I want to see a lot more stagnation with the lineup. And I don't know if I just made up a word with stagnation, but I want to see a stagnant lineup, Dan.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Mo's comments about the outfield leads us to that next year.
I think so. And I think there's reason as to why they did that. I mean, I think they were pushed in a situation where, and I don't think they handled the Contreras situation properly at the beginning of the season, but I think they felt out of necessity, okay, now Kisner's got to catch because the guys are struggling with him behind the plate. He's struggling defensively. We're trying to get him ingratiated into what we do. And all of a sudden, that kind of threw things out of whack. And then all of a sudden, Tommy Edman is playing center field. Tyler O'Neill is not an everyday player because he can't stay on the field. Dylan Carlson's in and out of the lineup. Brendan Donovan gets hurt. I also think maybe one of the reasons that Donovan got hurt is that you're playing from the outfield. Your throws are different, and there's stress on the arm. That could have been it. I'm not saying that is the reason.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing that might be a reason as to why he had the arm issues. I'm with you. I think there is something by keeping the core of the lineup the same. Goldie hitting 2, Arenado hitting 3, or 3 and 4, and then 5 is Contreras, and then Jordan Walker moves up to 6. Mm-hmm. I'd keep that group in there. I'd probably have Newt at the top, and then I'd shuffle a little bit at the bottom. Now, where it gets complicated at times is what if Nolan Gorman gets on fire? Where are you going to put him? Maybe sandwich him between the two. So I'm okay with moving it sometimes, but when things are going well, I'm not moving that core from the spots that they're at.
Yeah, I'm certainly not suggesting that they go 1 through 162, and I know you're not either. No. But at the same time, I thought there was too many. And granted, there's a lot of injuries that piled up. To your point, some of it was necessity a year ago. But if we just go with the basic premise of Arenado and Goldie are everyday players, and these young guys have emerged either as everyday players like Newt, or you want them to be everyday players like Gorman, Walker, and Wynn, then just roll with it.
Don't you think that going next year, Newt Barr, Walker, Donovan are real keys to the season? I mean,
yes.
I more so than some of the other things that you're looking at. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that, but if those three play to a different level, this is a different team. Because I can tell you pretty much what I'm going to get out of Goldie. I can tell you what I'm going to get out of Arenado. I can tell you pretty much what I'm going to get out of Contreras.
Yeah.
But those other three, if they take another step in their development, you're talking about a different team.
Yeah, kind of the X factor aspect of it all. I also think we're not talking about defense, but I do think a full season out of Mason Wynn at shortstop will make a world of difference. Not saying that he's going to be perfect. He's going to be a young guy that, makes some errors because it's the nature of the beast, right? But for as good as Tommy Edman has been at shortstop, we're talking about Mason Wynn, who's got elite range. I think, and Cardinals fans have, if you're old enough, you had the good fortune of watching Ozzie Smith play. Younger Cardinals fans have seen shortstops. That's been a revolving door at times. When you have an elite defender at shortstop, your defense kind of comes together. So I think that you're talking about like X factors offensively. I think Mason Wynn would be a huge factor defensively.
Well, I always look at defenses going in Major League Baseball from the catcher Shortstop, second base, center fielder.
Diamond. Yeah.
Yep. I always look up the middle, and if you've got consistency there with average or above average players, you got a good chance to win defensively, winning games with your defense. And this is no disrespect to Tommy Edman, because I think he's a hell of a player. But if he's your everyday shortstop, you're going to probably have some problems. He should be either at second base, where he's exceptional, or in center field, where he's really good. And so I'm keeping him either at second or center, probably center field. And we talked about this before all this stuff shook out. I said Tommy Edman would be my center fielder, and I would play Brendan Donovan every day at second base. Yeah. And I'd make Gorman my DH, and I would give Gorman a run against lefties. I know that he doesn't get a long run, and they know a lot more than we do. And they probably know that those numbers aren't pretty. I get it, but the only way to get better is to play every day.
I couldn't agree more.
And he could walk into a few home runs against a lefty. I would just like to see that a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
Which former Cardinals shortstop do you think Mason Wynn profiles to be?
Defensively or all around?
I think all around. We'll go with all around. I have a name in mind. I want to see if you guys
defensively, he reminds me of Brendan Ryan a little bit.
Brendan Ryan was an elite defender.
He's really good arm, great range. You just come in on the ball.
Win, obviously, is much more so offensively.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Who are you thinking of?
I was thinking of like Rafael Furcal.
I was wondering if you're thinking Furcal. Furcal's a really good player all
That's
around.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
I had a cannon for an arm.
Yeah.
He batted.
I see that.
He batted .264 in 2012 in that full year with the Cards. If Mason Wynn could do something like that, do you think that's...
I'd take that.
I'd take that. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yes.
What was his OPS? I don't really look at average anymore, and I know I should be, but everybody else looks at OPS. I'm going to look at OPS.
671.
Okay.
And that is in 2012. That's for that full season. He played 121 games. In 2011, when they won the World Series, in those 50 games with the Cards, he batted .255 and had an OPS of 735.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was a good player for that short period of time for Cole.
But I feel like he has that same sort of build to him.
Furcal was a little bit more stockier, I thought. A little shorter than Wynn. Wynn's kind of a little lankier to me. And man, does he have an arm? Holy smokes!
Oh, if he's Rafael Furcal, I think you'd
take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope your comp is good, Marsh.
I'm curious how it's going to be for Mason Wynn. I mean, he dipped the toe in the waters of the major leagues, and it was tough, and I'm sure the game was fast for him. In talking with some people, though, they feel like not a lot gets to him. He's not going to get buried. It's not going to be overwhelming for him, where at times for Jordan Walker it was just a bit overwhelming.
Sure.
There are those that are down there that feel that that's not going to be the case with him, that he'll handle this just fine.
That's Dan McLaughlin. I'm Anthony Stalter. It's the Fast Line on 101 ESPN. Dan, dealer's choice. You want to do Are You Sold or NFL stock market, buy, sell, or hold?
Either one is fine. We'll flip a coin during the break.
Okay, it's going to be one of those next on 101 ESPN. If you need a vehicle, whether it's a brand new vehicle that you've had your eyes on or you've got your sights set on a pre-owned vehicle, whatever you're looking for, Auto Center's Nissan Herculaneum, they got to be your spot. They've got over 700 vehicles on their lot. One location, one dealership out in Herculaneum, and you're going to be blown away by the customer service that they have there. Sales staff makes it fun. The financing department is outstanding, and boy, they've got great rates right now. Financing options available for you in an environment that has a lot of the rates are not great, but Auto Center's Nissan Herculaneum, they will finance the vehicle for you. Any credit situation, they'll finance the vehicle for you. They've got various promotions going on throughout the month of December, but one thing they always have is they've got the 30-day return promise and the complimentary lifetime warranty. So if you need a vehicle, whether you're looking at trucks, vans, cars, whatever, Auto Center's Nissan Herculaneum, that's got to be your spot. AutoCentersNissan.com is where you can start the process, and then you can head down to Herculaneum and test drive the vehicles there. When you're there, tell them Stalter sent you. It's Auto Center's Nissan Herculaneum. With our Gauntlet playoffs on pause for a couple of days, we do need a new Gauntlet contestant. So if you want to play in the Gauntlet, you can. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Just text in the word Gauntlet again to 314-399-9646, and you have an opportunity to play in the Gauntlet today. So in the break, we decided we're going to play Are You Sold? So, Marsh, what do you got for Are You Sold?
All right, we were talking about Tyler Glasnow earlier in the show. Are you sold on Tyler Glasnow landing in the NL Central?
What do you think, Dan?
It's all coming to me. It's the Cubs. I'm not sure the Cardinals' appetite for his lack of innings would suffice for what they're looking for. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. Would they take him? Absolutely. But that means he's got to arrive in Chicago. So I'm going to say, what's the segment?
Are you sold?
I'm not sold on that.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that either. I wonder. I always wonder what the game plan is for the Rays. You know,
Sketchy dudes.
you're like,
They know what they're doing.
I feel like you're fleecing me. I just don't know how.
Yeah.
But I'll say that I am not sold either.
Okay.
No.
We just got done talking about Mason Wynn and John, who's a part of the Snake Pit. Shout out to the Snake Pit. They're watching on our Air Lions team YouTube cams. John mentioned Edgar Renteria in his 2003 season. Are you sold on Mason Wynn having a 2003 Edgar Renteria type year?
I wouldn't be sold on this season being that.
Correct.
But boy,
Me too.
if you wind up being Edgar Renteria having that career, holy smokes!
I'll take it.
Any day of the week.
Edgar's going to the Cardinals Hall of Fame. It's just a matter of time, and his tenure here was phenomenal. He came over in a trade with the Marlins back in 1999 after they had won the World Series, and he was every bit of the player that they thought he might be, and better at times. I remember he made the final out of the 2004 World Series back to Keith Folk, and I remember saying, man, I'm going to miss that guy. I knew he was gone. I knew
He was a free agent. He was going to leave.
Yeah, he just knew it was going to happen, and that's when they went out and got David Eckstein for 05, 06, and 07. And then it was after that Cabrera, and then it was just a bunch of guys. But anyway, I digress, as I always do, and I get lost in my own thoughts.
You're good.
But he was one hell of a player, man.
So did he go to Boston next?
Went to Boston, yeah.
So then he would have won in 08?
I'm not sure.
07?
I'm not sure. I can't remember if he was part of that. They won in 04, 09, and 13. So he was not part of that second World Championship team.
I thought they won in 07. Didn't they win
Oh, you're right. 07 was the year.
Yeah, because they played the Rockies.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was with that team.
I don't remember. I can't recall if he was. I don't think he was, though, for some reason.
I know he was with the 2010 Giants because he hit the home run against the Rangers in the deciding game to basically win it for them.
Orlando Cabrera was the shortstop back in 04 for the Boston Red Sox, and they made that controversial deal with Nomar Garciaparra,
right,
who was a fan favorite at that time. But I don't think that he
was. So 97 and 10, he won World Series. So
okay, 97
he won with
and
the
10.
Red Sox, and he won with the Giants.
Okay. So he was not part of the Red Sox championship club in 07.
No, he was.
So he won with the Marlins.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw 97. I was thinking 07. I apologize. No, he was not. He was with the Red Sox for 05. He went to the Braves for 06 and 07. He was a Tiger in 8, and then in the Giants he played 2 years and won a World Series in 10. So he won with the Marlins in 97, Giants in 2010. I saw the 7 and I just thought 2007.
I get it. Tony La Russa called him a money player. He said, man, when the game was on the line, you wanted the ball hit to him. And now think about the teams that he was a part of. He's like, I want the ball hit to Edgar Renteria.
Right.
And he also had an element of stolen bases to his game. He had an element of speed. He was kind of under the radar with his speed and stolen bases too. So I think Wynn could add that element to the Cardinals as well.
I know I just said that he had the home run to win it. I would have never thought. I completely forgot he won the World Series MVP in 2010.
Yeah. And he had the game-winning hit in 97 that drove in Craig Counsell to win it for the Marlins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was young, too. Was he?
Oh, yeah. He was like 20 years old,
So
I think.
his rookie was 96. They won it in 97. So he was, I don't even know if he was 21 yet.
Wow. What a player, though.
Yeah, I was supposed to say what a player.
Would be nice if Mason Wynn turned out to be
100%.
Edgar Renteria.
Yes.
All right, guys. Are you sold on the Blues replicating their performance tomorrow night against the Vegas Golden Knights?
I have no clue.
Am I sold on that? No, because how can you be sold on the Blues being consistent this year? Right?
Win one, lose one, win
Yeah.
one, lose one.
What a win last night. Outstanding. Jordan Binnington, filthy good again. The defense showed up last night, although I'll say Ish.
Ish.
He did
A lot of odd
face
man rushes.
34 shots. Yeah. You know, I shouldn't say that. The defense didn't show up last night, but
20 high danger scoring chances.
Yeah.
not great.
Not great.
So Binnington was great.
There's part of your defense. Mm-hmm. He's your final line of defense.
So if he's playing tomorrow night, then I'm sold on the Blues playing well.
What do you think of Petro coming back? You guys always enjoy seeing former Blues come back?
Yeah.
I do too.
And obviously, he's the captain that hoisted the only
first
Stanley
ever
Cup in your franchise history. So, yeah, special player.
From the 314, are you sold that Lars Nootbaar will be the leadoff hitter going forward, even against lefties?
I'm sold. I think he will be.
So, do you think that Donovan will start some games against lefties?
Yep.
In the leadoff spot, but mostly it'll be Newt.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Newt's an everyday player.
I think he's going to get the majority of the run in the outfield. Put him in left. You can put him in center. You can put him in right. You can mix and match him defensively. But going back to what we were talking about in the previous segment about having a lineup that's stable, meaning when I say stable, 1 through 9, you know what you're going to get pretty much every day.
Yeah.
I would give him a run early in the season at leadoff because he does bring energy to the club, and he gives you a solid at bat. And that's one thing I love about Donovan. Donovan will go deep into a count like Matt Carpenter used to and not worry about it. Hit with 2 strikes. Carpenter told me he preferred to hit with 2 strikes, which I never understood, but that's what made him a great player.
Maybe it's kind of took some pressure off. Like, I'm just going to put this in play.
And I think that's what it was. Just reaction. Don't think, just react.
And then if it's 2013, I'll just put it in play in one of the gaps.
55 doubles. It's a pretty good year.
No kidding.
I just think having an energy guy at the top of the lineup is something that's good for your club. So I would put him at the top, and I bet he does see the majority of it. And if it doesn't go well, you can always rearrange.
Sure.
Move him down in the lineup, whatever. But I'd give him a run at the top.
I would also play him in right. I would not play Jordan Walker in right. I think the majority of the National League's their parks, there's some tricky right fields. I would keep him in left.
I'd look at it.
I mean, maybe I'm crazy in this line of thinking, but since Cincinnati, there's not much difference. Pittsburgh, Chicago could have kind of a tough right field.
It's got tough all fields.
You got that wall right there. You don't have much of a foul line. I know it's on both sides, but if you're running and I don't know, I guess it's the same.
The Pittsburgh wall is high.
San Francisco has the weird.
You got
you have the brick. It juts out. It's a triples alley.
Yep.
Colorado is a huge ballpark no matter where you're playing.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know. I view him more as a left fielder than I do right. Plus, I want Newt's arm in right field.
I would love Jordan Walker's arm if it's accurate.
Accurate, right. That's fair.
That's just got to be accurate.
Yep.
I think that it's open for debate, though. I mean, if he still struggles in right, then you can always approach him and say, where's your comfort level at? And we've got another guy that can play right.
That's true.
Need to shift to left.
Yeah, where are you comfortable?
Yeah.
That's the better way to put that.
Last one here. Are you sold on Shohei Ohtani going back to the Angels?
I'm sold on it.
You're kind of convinced me of that based on what you said earlier. For those that missed it, Dan, go ahead.
Just there's some reports and others that I've talked to that believe that there's the comfort level that he has of being with a team that knows him. He's got some intricacies that he likes to do with his workouts and how he deals with the media, his approach to games, all that kind of stuff. And they've let him do that. It's obviously benefited them. I would assume any club that signed him would say, How do we make you the most comfortable? We've just invested $550 million to you.
Right.
So I get all that. I mean, but I do think, though, from the player's perspective of trying to be in the most comfortable spot, you go back to the spot that you're used to, and it wouldn't shock me if he went back to the Angels.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I guess it wouldn't shock me either. I'll say no, though. I'll say no.
Where do you think he winds up? Dodgers?
Dodgers.
Yeah.
And that's the obvious
It's
choice.
the obvious choice. I'm with you there.
But I brought this up before, too. The Giants have been trying to give their money away for 3 years now. They cleared all that money off the books. They're going to be in on Yamamoto. They're going to be in on Ohtani. They're going to be in on the rest of the big time. Snell, I'm sure.
Yes, Marshy.
If he's going to go to a National League team, he can go to the Giants. I don't see them as a threat.
Wow.
Well, I don't.
Well, that's fair. That's fair.
Name 3 people on their team.
Logan Webb.
Name 5 people on their team.
You got Logan Webb.
Bruce Bochy.
No, he's a Ranger now. Yeah.
Roger Craig.
You've got the young
Patrick
kid,
Bailey.
Matos, the shortstop, who they really like, Luis Matos.
Edgar Renteria was a good shortstop there.
Mike Yastrzemski.
Yes.
You've got, if he goes back there, Jock Peterson.
Brandon Crawford.
Michael Conforto. Yeah, I don't think Crawford's going to be there anymore.
From baseball's perspective, I hope it's a major market, which it will be, but I hope I get to see him play more. So if it's in the Midwest or on the East Coast, I can watch him a little bit more.
Right.
I just feel like I haven't seen the guy play all that much.
Camilio Duvall, their closer.
There you go.
I know you're concerned now.
Yeah. Oh man. We need to be more. We need to be more reactive.
Yeah. We got into this a little bit earlier, but Dan, we haven't gotten your thoughts on the college football playoff matchups. I know we kind of talked a little bit about Florida State and how much they got screwed, but now that we know the matchups, I'm interested in your thoughts on what could be the title game. We'll get into that next on 101 ESPN.
101 ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues picked up a victory last night in Vegas, a 2-1 win in overtime as Jordan Binnington stopped 33 of 34 against the Golden Knights. The Blues will be back in action tomorrow night, taking on Vegas once again at home. Pregame starts at 7, puck drop is at 8, and you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Cincinnati defeated Jacksonville last night on Monday Night Football, another overtime game. Trevor Lawrence suffered a high ankle sprain, but will not miss significant time. We talked about that earlier in the show. We've also been talking Cardinals baseball. If you missed anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. It is all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
So Florida State got screwed. Let's just throw that out there again. Just want to make sure everybody knows that
It's not been talked about
we're saying
very much.
that Florida State got screwed. But now that they have been screwed, Dan, let's talk about these college football matchups.
Let me ask you this, though, first.
Sure.
Before you go into the Final Four, how much are you putting into the teams that are left and what's left of those teams going into these bowls? And I'm talking about the top teams. I'm talking about Ohio State, Missouri, some of the teams, Georgia, meaning what players play in this.
Yeah.
What players are in the transfer portal to where it just changes the complexion of what that game would look like a month ago. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you're talking about the importance of...
Not the importance.
Okay.
What they look like, what the teams, what they're left with as... Like, I think I saw there's 7 kids with Missouri going into the transfer portal. Ohio State, I think, had double figures.
Including their quarterback.
Yeah, including their QB. So what you're left with going into your bowl game, and it changes your roster. This isn't the same team that you saw in the regular season when you decided to do these matchups.
No.
So I'll be fascinated with the lines and how they come out with the lines and what they look like.
Yeah, so Mizzou opened as a 2.5-point underdog. They're already down to 1.5.
Exactly.
So it's essentially a pick 'em. I liked Mizzou as soon as I heard the matchup because Kyle McCord entering the transfer portal, I didn't think he was that great as it is.
Marvin Harrison Jr. not playing.
Exactly. So he's going to the NFL. I mean, that Ohio State offense wasn't very good. Now the defense is a different story. So I'd have to take a longer look at what kids are entering the defensive. What kids are not playing on that side of the ball for Ohio State. But I think this is a perfect spot for Mizzou to flex.
Also, how coaches get their teams ready and up for these games. Like Ohio State has had a major letdown. They lost to Michigan. They're not in the college football playoff. It's either make it or bust.
Sure.
So what does this game really mean to them? Where I look at Missouri and I see kind of a magical season that's happened. You got 3 kids that are fired up to be there to play in a bowl game that are underclassmen. They look at this as another opportunity on a national stage. Yep. They're fired up, man. I think there's something to that.
I do too.
I definitely think there's something to that.
Yeah, these games are hard to kind of look at and say, oh, well, definitively we know what these teams are. You don't.
Yeah.
Motivation is very difficult to handicap.
Yes, Marshy.
I was just waving at Mike Ryder, who's feeding at me information into my ear. So.
I thought you were waving at me.
I can wave at you, Dan. How are you doing?
I haven't seen you since Thanksgiving. Kids miss you.
I mean, we're just celebrating,
I understand.
For those that don't know, Dan invited Marsh to Thanksgiving.
And he no-showed.
The Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade was on, and, I lost track of time, and,
and that was it. Didn't wind up at the McLaughlins.
You were washing your carpets.
Folding my socks.
You got a perm. You got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
All right. I thought about getting a perm with that mullet that I had.
Sweet.
I really thought about it.
And then
I just didn't.
Yeah, I think
it's all natural, baby.
I think you made the right choice.
You look great, though.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
No problem. So we got the Final Four.
Bama, Michigan, Texas, Washington.
I like Michigan.
You like Michigan over Bama?
I do. I just think that when you look at Michigan and that defense and with the kind of year that they've had, Jim Harbaugh back on the sidelines, I do. I like Michigan.
I don't think that this Bama team is anywhere close to the previous installments of Bama, okay? But it's Nick Saban with multiple weeks to prepare.
That's the only caveat in this thing for me.
If you're going to back Bama, and why wouldn't you? But you back Bama, first game of the year and a playoff game.
Yeah.
Because Nick Saban has got more run-up time to prepare for the opponent than at any point during the year.
Can I change my pick?
They did get waxed by Georgia.
Can I change my pick?
Well, okay, so they did but they got waxed by Georgia, a couple years ago in the national title game. So there's that. Although, wait, no, that was a game then that they didn't have a ton of time to prepare for.
Right.
So I take that back.
7-8 days or whatever it was. I don't know, man. Michigan's awfully good. A lot of pros on that team. Not to say there's not a lot of pros on the other side of the football. There is. But you're right, an X factor in this thing. But I could also say an X factor is Jim Harbaugh going the other way, giving him a month to prepare for this game.
Sure. It's going to be fascinating.
It is. It's going to be great.
Texas-Washington, I think, is going to be fun.
I can't figure out Texas.
So Texas, if you're looking at if you're just looking at the matchups and stylistically, this isn't a great spot for Texas. Texas's front four is excellent. You're not going to be able to run the ball much. But what you can do on Texas is move the ball through the air. What does Washington like to do?
Yep.
They like to throw it all over the park. Plus, I think a couple of weeks off for these Washington players, huge. I do not think they were full strength going into that Pac-12 championship game, which is one of the reasons why I foolishly backed Oregon.
As did I.
And you know what, Dan? Washington, give them the credit. They took control of that game from that first drive. They took control of that game.
Weren't you shocked at how physical Washington was?
I was, because I thought Oregon was going to be the team that was more physical.
Did too.
I thought Bo Nix was going to be the sharper quarterback. Because Michael Penix had some games there where he didn't look quite like Michael Penix. But again, credit Washington. They shoved it up your and I's rear end.
Yeah, they did.
One. Good for them. Washington.
And our friends
as well.
I feel bad for the friends.
Yeah.
Not so much you two.
Well, they made it back with Michigan.
Not happy at all.
No.
Friends are very upset about that.
But Washington is going to move the ball. Texas, we know, can move the ball. They can move the ball in a variety of ways. They've got
Don't you love Sarkisian, too?
I like Steve Sarkisian a lot. I think that this is going to be a fun game. Alabama and Michigan, I think, goes down in the fourth quarter. It's going to be physical. It's going to be some defensive battles. But I think Texas and Washington's going to live up to the hype in terms of being high scoring.
There are some, by the way, I just got a text. Depending on where you go, it shows now Mizzou as a 1-point favorite. So things have really shifted.
The line.
Yep.
Or jump the fence, excuse me.
You guys talk about them.
No.
Come on.
We don't influence the line.
Be a hell of a win for Mizzou. Beat Ohio State, cap off the season.
I don't care what Ohio State looks like
I agree.
in a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years now. It's going to be a dub. If you can win this game, a dub next to Ohio State.
Yep. And maybe a top 6 finish in the national scene.
Certainly.
Yeah.
You could swap places with Ohio State.
That's what I'm thinking.
Do you think Mizzou starts off as a top 10 team next year in the preseason polls?
If they
can win against Ohio State? And where do you think they land at the final rankings this year?
So we're just saying that. Could be top 6. I don't think it matters if they beat Ohio State. I think what matters is that you have one Luther Burden Jr. coming on back. And, you look at how when people talked about Ohio State, what's the first thing they mentioned? Marvin Harrison Jr. And the first thing you're going to mention when you talk about Mizzou, Luther Burden.
Certainly.
Now, the QB is pretty good, don't get me wrong. But that kid is a stud, and he's a first-round pick. And if he was – what do you think? If Luther Burden was available for the draft, where do you think he'd go in this year's draft?
Probably teens.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, middle of the first round.
Yeah, middle of the first round.
Yep.
Because there's some studs, and we got to wait to see who declares. Like Marvin Harrison, he's gonna go somewhere in the top 5.
Yep.
But we got to see who else declares from that position. But I think he's somewhere in the first round.
Do you think we haven't given back to the Washington game the Huskies enough credit? I don't know if they've got enough credit nationally.
I'll give them credit right now. I think they should be ranked ahead of Michigan.
Why do you say that?
They've got a better resume.
Yeah, they do strength of schedules way better.
Michigan has 3 wins against top 25 teams, which that includes Iowa. You saw Iowa, right?
Yeah.
Washington beats...
The punter should be a first-round pick.
No doubt. And the one gunner who chased down the Michigan returner.
Yeah.
So Washington beat Oregon twice when Oregon was ranked in the top 10. They beat USC, Utah, and Oregon State. They have 5 wins over top 25 teams. Nobody else in the nation has that.
And 2 against Oregon, like you said.
So, yeah, I think Washington should be the number 1 team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
They should be the ones playing Alabama.
Well, we'll find out. That's the beauty of this thing.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
And then we find out, 12 teams next year?
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Thankfully.
Yeah. Then we'll be arguing about the 13th team that's not the 12th team. Well, it just happens.
At least that'd be a little better debate.
Well,
exactly. A less meaningful debate.
It's going to come down to one team trying to get that 12th spot, but the group of 5 team will end up getting that one spot at 12.
Yeah.
And then there'll be people complaining. And
at least, though, again, I mean, this is at least you're opening it up. There's no debate. If somebody gets left out next year, you're like, okay, you should have had a better regular season.
There you go.
All right. Before Dan signs off with us, let's talk about this AFC playoff picture. That AFC, like the top seed, Dolphins have it right now. Do we see the Dolphins getting a bye? And how does this shake out in the AFC playoff-wise, especially in the wake of the Trevor Lawrence injury? That's next on 101 ESPN. Following the Jaguars' loss last night, and they didn't just lose the game to the Bengals, they also lost their starting quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, for we don't know how long. He's dealing with a high ankle sprain. He hasn't been ruled out or anything like that, but doesn't look good for Trevor Lawrence for the next couple of weeks, perhaps. Christian Kirk may have to undergo surgery to repair a core issue that he suffered last night in the first offensive play for the Jaguars. That would be a huge loss for them. So the Jaguars don't look great, but they are in control right now of the AFC South, where they're 8-4. The Dolphins are 9-3. They have the tiebreaker over Baltimore, who's also 9-3, based on win percentage in conference games. So Miami would get the first round bye in the AFC.
And they face each other before it's all said and done, too.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Who do you like? Who do you like to win the conference?
Well, in the final 3 weeks of the season, the Dolphins, that offense is going to be tested. They get the number 1 defense of the Ravens. They get the 5th best defensive team in the Cowboys and the number 10 defense in the Bills. So if you're going to win, you're going to earn it.
And they got blasted. It was a different Buffalo team, but they got blasted by Buffalo in Buffalo earlier this year.
I like Baltimore.
So do I.
I love their defense. I think Lamar could be the MVP. 5 weeks will play it out. I know a lot of people are on Dak Prescott and some others, but you watch Lamar, man, when he's got it going, he is as good as anybody in the league, and that defense is awesome.
I agree.
Defense is awesome.
So I have Baltimore earning that top seed. Miami, I wouldn't expect them to move back too far, but maybe they drop to third when it's all said and done, and Kansas City moves up to 2, or maybe Miami just drops to 2 and Kansas City there. But I think it's going to be those 3 teams: Miami, Baltimore, Kansas City, in some order.
What are you seeing right now with Kansas City?
They're, defensively, they've been outstanding since week 1. They had a hiccup last Sunday night against Green Bay, who moved the ball pretty effectively. Jordan Love's been confident; he's been great the last couple, really the last 3 weeks now. But Kansas City, offensively, one, I don't think that Andy Reid sticks with the running game long enough because he's got Mahomes, and why would you? But I think when you watch them play, Travis Kelce is not 100%. He doesn't look 100%.
Looks slower to me.
I agree. I like Rice, the rookie, but he's still just a rookie. I think he's come on of late. But can he be the guy that wins outside the numbers? That's what they need. Marquez Valdes-Scantling over the last 2 weeks, I know he should have drew the PI call. But that drop against Philadelphia, and then him, I don't think he's that competitive. I'd cut him. I really would.
Really?
I don't think he's a competitive player.
I look at Kansas City as, if you're going to say it's a dark horse, which is hard to say this, but their lone difficult games remaining, they've got the Bills. They're 3-2 against Buffalo in the Mahomes era. They've got the Chargers. Kansas City is 4-0 against the Chargers in their last 4 games. Andy Reid, by the way, 16-3 against the Los Angeles Chargers since coming to Kansas City in 2014.
Is that good?
That's pretty good. They could easily win they could win out, and all of a sudden it's back to Kansas City, and the road to the Super Bowl goes right through them.
Yeah.
To me, Baltimore and Kansas City, I like Baltimore. I'm just not sold fully. I'm sold fully on the Miami offense. Don't get me wrong, but when they're taking on a team that's on par, I'm not sold on them.
I wonder, though, you know what's interesting about Miami? I thought this, Dan. I predicted that they would win the AFC East this year, but I also said they won't go very far because I figured they'd be like the 4th seed in the AFC. If they wind up hosting and teams have to go down to South Beach as opposed to them going to like Baltimore or Kansas City, that's a different story.
Always has been.
You get down there, weather's nice, that offense plays on that, obviously it's not a track, but they won't get slow. They face a physical team at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, a physical team in Kansas City and Arrowhead. Now things are different. But
it's like back in the day. You remember when Kansas City would have to go to Buffalo?
Yes.
They're playing on the old turf, and the place is rocking, and they just get blown out. And later you'd hear players say, yeah, we were down in Florida where it's the middle of the winter, and all of a sudden have to go up east and play in these games, and it's snowing, and it's 5 degrees out. Sure. It's a little different offense.
I will say this, though. I will give Miami some credit. So last year they went to Buffalo with a backup quarterback twice and hung with Buffalo. I think Skylar Thompson scored in one of those games, if not both of them, and they played Buffalo pretty tough. last week, not that it was horrible weather, but it's getting a little colder in the East. They've won the last 2 weeks on the road in the East. It's different in January, but maybe I'm underselling Miami a little bit from that standpoint.
They are undefeated at home, so I think if they want to go to the Super Bowl, I think they have to get that top spot. I think if you look at some of these other teams, though, the Ravens, who we're high on, they find ways to shoot themselves in the foot, though.
Yes, they do.
And
Baltimore's its own worst enemy.
And Kansas City has problems as well. So I don't know if there's really a clear-cut favorite here in the AFC, whereas in the NFC now, I think
Niners.
It's the Niners, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how this thing is going to play out. But if Miami ends up with that number 1 seed, we could see Miami in the Super Bowl the way they played at home.
How about this? We could also see 3 AFC South teams make it.
Yep.
The Jaguars, the Colts are in right now. They're the 7th seed, and Houston's right there at 7-5. They're the 8th seed. But Cleveland's down to Joe Flacco at quarterback. Pittsburgh is going to start Mitchie football moving forward here. So I could see one of those teams falling out. Again, you could get 3 teams from the AFC South, which would be, absurd.
Texans' easiest remaining schedule in the AFC.
And maybe they surpass Jacksonville.
You know what, though? I feel like the Texans could make a strong push to go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if that's out of line to say, but they remind me a lot of Jacksonville last year. Heading into the playoffs, like they could win the first round game.
Yeah.
They took down the Chargers. Didn't look great in that first half, came back. And whether or not that was them coming back in the game or if that was the Chargers just being terrible, probably a little bit of both.
They couldn't run the ball.
A little bit of both.
They tried, but they just couldn't run the ball.
But I could see the Texans scaring some teams for sure. They're playing a lot of one-score games right now. It doesn't matter who they're playing a lot of one-score games. And if C.J. Stroud can continue to build on what he has done so far this season, that could be definitely a scary team.
No doubt.
Texans could control the fate of the Titans and vice versa. They play. They've got each other twice before this thing is all said and done.
The Titans?
Yep.
Well, you got to win those games.
Yeah. Got to win those.
They're goofy.
The problem with the Texans, though, as the 636 points out, Tank Dell out.
Yeah, that's
huge.
Tough. But C.J. Stroud has made everybody look like world beaters in that wide receiver group. Nico
He's
Collins,
been awesome.
Noah Brown, Robert Woods. All right, Dan, always a pleasure, my man. Good seeing you.
Thank you, fellas. Jamie's coming back in, and he'll carry you guys from 4 to 6.
There you go. So for Dan McLaughlin, we've got the Gauntlet coming up next. Jamie's in here on 101 ESPN.
one challenger. Can you master the gauntlet?
Brought to you by Master, your hometown source for business communications for more than 30 years. Visit masstour.com.
402, your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Jamie Rivers back in, fresh from the road.
Yeah, baby.
He's ready to go.
I think I am.
He's on like 4 seconds of sleep. He's going to be fantastic. Congratulations to Elliot from Washington. Mo, Elliot won the Cubs and Cardinals holiday ticket pack. He had the correct answer to our trivia question today, which was, which pitcher are the Cubs reportedly interested in, according to the rumor mill? Correct answer is
Tyler Glasnow.
Tyler Glasnow.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
They want everything that's ours.
Dirty eight.
That we should get.
Yeah. Yeah. Elliot, again, congratulations. We have Ed on the line. Ed is not a playoff Gauntlet champion. We're pausing that until Thursday. So, Ed, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Doing great today. Who would you like to take on today? Between Marsh, me, and Rivers.
I'd like to take on Marsh, please.
Oh,
so
little
polite
Marsh,
to you about it.
Yeah, very polite. Nice. Okay, so let's spin the wheel, or tell Marsh to spin the wheel, and then he'll head to the cone of silence.
Marsh, please spin the wheel.
Again, very polite. Marsh, don't forget to hand us those launch codes if you haven't already. Thank you, sir. And then get out of here. Ed, what are you hoping for, man?
Not hockey.
Oh, boy.
That's why I didn't pick Jamie.
Yeah, well, good news. You didn't pick Jamie. Bad news. It is hockey.
Yeah.
So your Gauntlet journey starts with some hockey today. I feel like we haven't had hockey. Well, I take that back. I actually won in hockey the other day, James.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Look at you go.
I know.
Crayon eating son of a gun.
I'm crazy. All right, Ed. 4 questions to you. Each question is worth 2 points. If you ask for the options, those questions are worth 1 point. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, question number 1. The Blues' first game of the season was a 2-1 shootout loss to Dallas. Where which Blues defenseman scored the team's first goal of the season? Let me read that again. The Blues' first game of the season was a 2-1 shootout loss to Dallas, in which a Blues defenseman scored the team's first goal of the season. Who was that player? Who was that Blues defenseman?
I mean, I feel like it was Tucker off the top of my head, but he's I don't know. Can I have the options, please?
Sure. Torrey Krug, Colton Parayko, or Tyler Tucker?
Tyler Tucker, please.
Final answer?
Final answer.
All right, question 2. The Blues' longest winning streak so far this season is how many games?
And our definition of a streak is 3 games, correct?
3 or more.
3 or more. You're probably going to give me 3, 4, 5. I'll just take the options.
All right. Is it 3, 4, or 5?
Poor Ed.
I thought maybe I'd get 4, 5, 6. Okay, I'm just going to shoot with 4, please, and final answer.
Thank you.
Ed, question 3. Who defeated the Blues in the first round of the 2021 playoffs? Who defeated the Blues in the first round of the 2021 playoffs?
2021, 2 years after the Cup. I am going to shoot and say the Minnesota Wild. Final answer.
All right, we're at the final question here. Question number 4. The Blues traded Robbie Fabry to the Detroit Red Wings for which player back in 2019? So who did they get in that deal from the Red Wings?
I'm going to take the options, please.
Was it Derek Pouliot, Jacob De La Rose, or Kyle Clifford?
Kyle Clifford, final answer.
All right, we'll bring back Marsh now. Ed, how you feeling?
50-50.
All right. We'll see how you do here. Marsh is making his way back in from the cone of silence. He's got his customary water.
He's all dressed up.
He's all dressed up today. I asked him if he's calling a game, and he's not. He just wanted to dress up today.
Just a Tuesday, Marshy?
I think he knew that Jamie Rivers was going to be back in studio, so he wanted to put on a nice little outfit for everybody.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Got the hair combed. He's not even wearing a hat today. He's a sharp-dressed man.
Sure is.
Got to dress nice to feel nice, Dressed to impress.
Very true. Jamie, tell him.
Oh, you better pack a lunch while you're at it.
Oh, boy.
The wheel spun hockey today, Marsh. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The Blues' first game of the season was a 2-1 shootout loss in Dallas, in which a Blues defenseman scored the team's first goal of the season. Who was it?
Tyler Tucker. Final answer.
Okay. Question number 2. The Blues' longest winning streak so far this season is how many games?
Ooh. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, I think it was the win streak that they had, and then they lost to Anthony Sharks.
Not my
But
Sharks.
who did they beat? I think it was maybe 4. I feel like that's what the options are going to be. Let's go with 4. Final answer.
Question 3. Who defeated the Blues in the first round of the 2021 playoffs?
2021. So that would have been the year after the bubble. And they were swept by the Colorado Avalanche. Final answer.
All right, question 4. The Blues traded Robbie Fabry to the Detroit Red Wings for which player?
Oh, what was his name? Blonde-headed fella. What was his name?
Blonde-headed fella.
Damn it. I don't want to have to use the options. I'll get it with the options. Oh, man. It is not coming to me, though. For time purposes, I'm probably going to have to I'll use the options.
All right. Was it Derek Pouliot, Jacob De La Rose, or Kyle Clifford?
Jacob De La Rose. Final answer.
All right. Let's go over these. The Blues' first game of the season was a 2-1 shootout loss in Dallas, in which a Blues defenseman scored the first goal of the season. Who was, or who scored, the team's first goal of the season. Who was it? Ed, you went with Tyler Tucker. Marsh, you went with Tyler Tucker. Correct answer is...
It was Tyler Tucker.
Marsh, though, did not need the option, so he has a 2-1 lead over Ed. The Blues' longest win streak so far this season was how many games long? Ed, you went with 4. Marsh, you went with 4. Correct answer is...
Well, I wish it was 4. It's only 3.
It's only 3, so Marsh was still at that 2-1 lead over Ed. The Blues traded Robbie Fabry to the Detroit Red Wings for which player back in 2019? Ed, you said Kyle Clifford. Marsh, you said that blonde-haired fellow. And then said Jacob De La Rose. Correct answer is...
The Swedish fella with the French name, Jacob De La Rose.
There you go. So Marcia has 3, Ed has 1. It comes down to this. Neither of you guys used the options. You have different answers. Who defeated the Blues in the first round of the 2021 playoffs? Marsh, you said the Colorado Avalanche. Ed, you said the Minnesota Wilds. If it's the Minnesota Wilds, we head to a walk-off. If it's the Colorado Avalanche or any other team in the existence of hockey, Marsh wins today. Correct answer is...
Stinking Colorado Avalanche.
Ed.
You have chosen poorly.
You lose. Not today.
Ed, I feel for you. You didn't want hockey. That's why you didn't go with Jamie. Wheels spun hockey. Anyways, and Marsh got you 5-1 today. Yeah, sorry, buddy. Thanks for listening, though. Thanks for playing.
Hey, thanks for being here, guys. Appreciate it.
We appreciate it.
it. Have a good one, buddy.
Take care.
Yeah.
Another tremendous human being, another stand-up individual that Marsh sends home with an absolute beating.
Rips his soul out.
Rips his soul right
steps
out.
on it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I don't know how
Sorry.
you sleep at night, Marsh, but we do appreciate your competitive nature. Nice job. Nice job today.
I don't sleep.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh. He sleeps like a baby.
Yeah, actually, I do.
All right, let's get into these Blues. 2-1 victory over the Golden Knights last night. What did Jamie see, or what can he remember? He'll tell you next on 101 ESPN.
Oh, baby, it's cold outside. But don't worry, FanDuel stays red hot. They are America's #1 sports book. And right now, FanDuel's hooking up new customers with $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. So that's $150 if your team wins. It's not the spread, none of that stuff. You just have to pick the winner, Anthony. Even you could do this.
Unless you took the Jaguars last night. That was a rough one. So you want to be careful. You want to make sure you get the right money line pick. But Jamie's right. All you have to do in order to cash in $150 in FanDuel credit is to just pick the winner. So if you're looking at this week's slate, maybe you like the Ravens over the Rams. Maybe you like the Saints over the Panthers. Or, I don't know, let's see here, the Packers over the Giants. How about that? Packers over the Giants. I don't know. Packers playing pretty well. Giants
pretty bad.
Who knows who the quarterback is at this point? But if you get that win on the money line, then you get the $150 back. Then you can use the app any way you want. You can play spreads, the player props, the same game parlays. But you do have to go to FanDuel.com/fast. Again, FanDuel.com/fast in order to capitalize on that deal with FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
21 and over, President Illinois. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus. Best that expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fellas, listen up. I can't tell you enough how much Mentality has helped out with me and my life. You know, I had gotten into a funk and was just run down and irritable and just all the things that you don't want to become. And I had no idea it was because I was low in testosterone. I thought, okay, I'm low on testosterone. Well, guess what? I was. And so Mentality put me on my own personal program, and now they've got me on peptides and all these things. It's unbelievable how I feel now. I couldn't have went through a week in Vegas without it, Anthony.
I could verify you were in a bad mood for a long time. Of course, you could verify that I was too. So Jamie and I were doing the same stuff. It's like, you know, we'd come into work, and I'd look over, and there'd be 3 coffee cups in front of him. He'd look over, there's 2 energy drinks in front of me. Just get through a show. It's ridiculous. We were tired of feeling that way. So we went down. Jamie started first, and Jamie recommended it to me. So that Jamie and I are now recommending it to you. Go down to Mentality or check them out at lowtusa.com. Check them out. Check out the program. But if you are low on testosterone, there's nothing you can do about it. It's not like you can control that aspect of it. Sure, you know, you want to make sure that you're exercising and you're taking care of yourself diet-wise and all that. That's all there. But if you are low on testosterone, if you are low on, deficient in some of these vitamins, Mentality's going to find that for you. They're going to tell you about it, and then they're going to tell you how they're going to help, and they will help. So you jump on their program, you start to feel great, you start to do a lot of the things that you weren't doing over the last couple of years, and you feel better, better than you did even 10 years ago. So head down there, or like Jamie likes to tell you, visit lowtusa.com. That's Mentality, and don't forget to tell them Jamie and Anthony sent you in there. Jamie Rivers back with us, fresh off the trip from Vegas. And what a win last night for the Blues. Jamie, Dan and I we opened the show with this, and I wanted your thought process on it. So if you're a team, I don't care what sport it is, you want to know what your identity is. And if you have a certain identity, therefore you could play a certain style. You know how the game is going to unfold. I always go to football. That's what I know. You typically go with hockey. That's what you know. So I want to ask you this stylistically about the Blues. When it comes to football, if you're a team that lacks in explosive plays, you know that if you fall behind a couple of scores, it's going to be difficult for you to get back in it. Well, you better play good defense, and you better run the ball, and you better keep the game close and give yourself a shot in the fourth quarter. The Blues, we have seen, if they get up, they have done well. If they get down, they have done very poorly.
Yeah.
Stylistically, is there anything to that? You know, they get up in a game. Do you see stylistically they play differently, or is this just, hey, it is what it is, and that's how the season is kind of unfolding right now?
Yeah, so for a handful of the games, it kind of just is what it is. But for some games, like there's absolutely stylistically, it's just that they're not starting on time. I don't mean like physically getting to the rink late. No, they're there, but they're not playing.
That would be irresponsible, and Chief wouldn't stand for that.
No, he wouldn't, not at all. But what's almost as bad is getting onto the ice and then not performing. Mm-hmm. And that's where the Blues find themselves, where they get themselves in a lot of trouble. And I don't understand it. I don't, because let's take the Arizona game a couple of nights ago. Came out in the first period, you had a good first shift, and then after that, it was all Coyotes. Mm-hmm. And then second period started, it was a whole new game. And the third period was a whole new game. Like, the Coyotes weren't even really a part of the game at all after the first period. So you sit there as a coaching staff, you're like, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. You sit there as the players. You're in the locker room, you're like, why is this happening? You got to figure it out. And, stylistically, what happens then is once you fall behind, you got to open it up a little bit. Not right away. If it's only one goal, you can kind of reel them in. But the Blues haven't been able to do that at all this year. They get down by a goal, and it's like, forget it. I think they have one win. One win this year when they've been trailing and came back.
Yeah.
It's not great, but I believe they're 12-0 now after scoring first goal, and they go on to win the game.
It's complete. It's two different teams. That's why I know that it's early still, but
we're at a point where you're starting to see some things.
You're getting closer and closer to Christmas, so it's kind of a tale of two halves type thing. But that's why I was wondering. I mean, those are dramatic differences. I mean, drastic differences when it comes to the records there. So stylistically, I do wonder if there is something there. Now, to
you
your
open
point,
it up more, but this is on the players, man.
Yeah,
it's on the players because Craig Berube and the staff, they prepare the same way every day. They get the guys ready. They have all the information to skate, to this, to that. Whatever the players need, it's there. Mm-hmm. And then it's up to the players when the puck gets dropped to go play. And there are games, a handful, well, more than a handful, where they just haven't. But then, you're trying to play catch-up halfway through the game. And in this league, it's a tough league. And even Arizona's on a bit of a tear right now.
Yeah.
But you can't give up goals. You can't get behind and be chasing the game.
Well, look, you get a win like that in Vegas. Jordan Binnington was outstanding again. You don't love the high danger scoring opportunities that Vegas had. You don't love the fact that, again, Jordan Binnington had to save, 33 last night, 34 last night?
I think so. 33.
33. So he faces 34 shots. And how many breakaway opportunities they have, odd man rushes they have. Binnington bailed you out last night. Now, again, the good thing is you won the game, and you've come up with some pretty big road wins thus far, Colorado, Vegas. But if you play like that again tomorrow night when they come to Enterprise Center, I don't know if the game plays out the same way unless Binnington stands on his head. So there's a lot, despite not all wins and losses are created equal. I think that was one last night that you don't give that one back. It's hard to win games, especially in Vegas. But that win didn't look the same as the one that they won in Colorado. There were some issues.
Yeah, I would agree with that. However, you're playing, in my opinion, you're playing the best team in the NHL last night. I mean, seeing those guys for the first time this year, live and in person, their smallest defenseman was 6'2", 210. They have one player on the entire team that's under 6 feet tall, but that's Marchessault, who happens to be one of their best players, too. Mm-hmm. Like, 6'2" is the smallest defenseman. 6'6" is the biggest. Like, they're oak trees out there. So Yes, you gave up some opportunities last night. Yes, Jordan Binnington stood on his head at times, but I'm going to say something that may or may not be popular. That's his job.
Yeah.
That's his job. His job is to stop the puck. And I'm not disrespecting his play, because anybody who listens know that I love Jordan Binnington. I have a tremendous amount of respect for the athlete. I think he's a solid dude, and I think that this team is way better when he's in between the pipes. But that being said, there's going to be nights where he has to just do his job for you and help you win a hockey game. Mm-hmm. And he did. There were some high-danger opportunities. I think it was 17 overall for the whole game, which is a lot. But Jordan Binnington, was there. He was up for the task. But the Blues overall played a pretty solid game, though, too. Like, there weren't pockets of where Vegas dominated. Vegas got their opportunities off of turnovers. So if you look back at that, if you're the coach and you're watching the game tape back, we made our own headaches here. And in the first period, there was like 3 or 4 turnovers that turned into out-and-man situations and breakaways. But you can control that. So if you eliminate some of those turnovers, then all of a sudden the high danger chances go away, and all of a sudden you're playing way more on par with the team. So I think that the Blues played a pretty good game. I really liked the Thomas line last night. They were flying around out there.
How do the Blues eliminate those odd man rushes? Because right now they rank 29th in the league with 5.29 odd man rushes per game. Is that due to, we talk about the defensive system and them jumping up in the play, activating the defense? Is that as simple as an odd man break for the Blues and they miss the net, it rims around the boards and the other team's going the other way? Like, how do you limit those things? I know you said they need to, but what are certain things that they can do to eliminate those odd man rushes?
Well, you got to use your brain, too. Mm-hmm. You do. Like, it's puck management. And all puck management is making sure you're not putting the puck in an area where you turn it over.
Right.
Not making a high-risk pass when you don't need to. Not making a drop pass in the middle of nowhere or behind-the-back pass to nobody. And that's what happened last night. Was a couple of plays where guys got a little too loose with the way they were handling the puck. And there are times where I love when the defense join the rush, but you're supposed to join the rush. You don't have to lead it. And I think there's times last night where certain defensemen who were looking to push the play up the ice, I love it, but they got ahead of the play before the play developed, and then there was a turnover, and then you're going back the other way, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 1-on-0, like you just don't know. So for me, I think there's a little bit of the game here that has to still be a little more patient for some of these guys, but it all comes down to puck management. You can honestly dictate the entire pace of the game by managing the puck the proper way. And if you're the Blues and you're playing a team that's very explosive off of turnovers and transitions, the more you, and it's not fun to watch, but the more you just put that puck down the wall, chip it ahead, /support, chip it ahead, you're going to limit that team's ability to get going on the rush the other way. You're going to limit the ability of guys like Stone and Eichel and Barbashev or the McDavids or the McKinnons, because they got to go back for the puck all the time. Mm-hmm. It's not pretty, and you have to be extremely disciplined to play that style against a team that wants to open it up. But that's what puck management is about, is limiting the turnovers so the opposition can't get anything going.
Is that as simple as like a third forward staying high and covering for that defenseman, or are you seeing a four-man rush, and is that on the defenseman not being aware of his surroundings?
Yeah, so I'm seeing both of those things at times right now. Right now, I think the defenseman, at times, some of them are jumping up at all cost. When we don't have full possession of the puck, or there's not a play that's evolving in front of him, and then when the turnover happens, his buddy's stranded on single defenseman island out there. He's got to handle whatever's going on. And in the offensive zone, sometimes the defense are eager to get down and keep the puck in, but when you already have 3 bodies that are down below the hash marks, if you're not 100% sure that you can get that puck, you have to back off. It sucks. You don't want to give up the offensive zone. But if you get caught in transition on a 50-50 puck or a 40-60 puck that you think you can get to, and the other team gets it, or they chip it up the wall around you, and they're going with 3 guys up the ice, and you have 4 guys trapped, that's also a way that you're giving up odd man rushes.
That's Jamie Rivers, Andrew Marsh, Anthony Stalter, the Fastlane on 101 ESPN. We'll continue our Blues conversation next with Joey Vitale, who was on the call last night for the Blues on the Blues Radio Network. Joe, next in the Fastlane.
Save money on your car or your home insurance with Tracy Bibb and the Bibb Agency. With Allstate and Tracy Bibb, you're going to get that personal attention from your agent that you deserve. Most people don't get that personal attention. You get a 1-800 number and you don't even know who they are. Well, don't worry. Tracy Bibb and the Bibb Agency, they take great care of you. She'll also work with you to make sure that you have the right type of coverage for when something happens. Not if, but when something happens. And when you're filing your claim, she walks you through the process. It makes it stress-free. There can be so much anxiety around insurance claims, and Tracy Bibb and the Bibb Agency, they do their best to keep that out of the way for you. Tracy also cares about her community. She's involved in United Cerebral Palsy, the Purple Stride, Kids Rock Cancer, Little Bit Foundation, and so many more. Tracy Bibb and the Bibb Agency, they're there for you. Reach out to them today for a free non-committal quote. Here's the phone number, 314-328-4260. That's 314-328-4260. It's no fib. You're in good hands with Tracy Bibb.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues picked up a victory last night in Vegas, a 2-1 win over the Golden Knights in overtime. Jordan Binnington stopped 33 of 34 in the Blues win. They'll take on the Golden Knights once again tomorrow night with a pregame starting at 7. Puck drop is at 8, and you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. Joe Vitale is going to join us next to talk about last night's win and what we can expect against Vegas tomorrow night. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
things a little differently. Just imagine how he looks at hockey. Whoa! This is The View from Vitale, brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
It's a Fast Lane on 101 ESPN with Jamie Rivers. I'm Anthony Stalter. Let's head to our 101 ESPN Celebrity Line. We're joined by our guy, Joe Vitale, fresh off the Vegas win last night in the 2-1 shootout victory, or overtime victory, excuse me. Joe, how are you?
Hey, Stalter, I'm doing great today. How are you guys?
We're doing good, too, coming off the victory. Your biggest takeaway from last night?
Biggest takeaway from last night, the St. Louis Blues still have one of the most elite goaltenders in the National Hockey League. I mean, I think that's just plain and simple. You know, Jordan Binnington stood on his head all night long. There was some stretches in that game, especially early on, where the Blues gave up a couple breakaways, where I think that he stood on his head, a couple great glove saves to give this team some belief that when they look up at the scoreboard, even though they were outplayed in some stretches, it's still 0-0. And then, of course, you get a fortunate bounce at the end of the first. I think the Blues did a great job keeping it patient, taking what the Vegas Golden Knights gave them. They took advantage. Unfortunately, Jack Eichel put one in there late to get the Vegas Golden Knights 1 point. But at the end of the day, you're looking at a team that's a little bit in transition. It's been a little inconsistent at times. The one thing that just remains very consistent is that you have, the top 5 goaltender in the National Hockey League, and that's going to give you a chance every single night.
Joey, watching the Thomas, Neighbors, and Buchnevich line last night, I felt like they had a really good game. They possessed the puck a lot in the offensive zone. It's only been a few games, a handful of games for them, but what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think they look really sharp. I mean, obviously, Jake Neighbors, leading the way with goals. He's been the biggest surprise through the first quarter of the season. I think when you have Robert Thomas in the middle, I really don't care who you put him around. I think he's at the top of his game right now, where he's finding lanes and he's anticipating so well. When the puck's coming to him, he already knows the 2 or 3 options that he has before he gets it, and then it's on and off his stick so quickly. You really have to be a winger that's ready for the puck at all times when you're with Robert Thomas. So I've seen exceptional puck movement. Really, it's been led by Robert Thomas. His face-offs have been great there as well, which has really helped with puck possession. Even in that game last night, there were some great stretches where he won a lot of face-offs, especially in the D zone. And you know what? It's still a learning curve. Riz, I know you had a front row seat at it last night with me. That Robert Thomas turnover in the third period through the middle of the ice right after he stepped over the offensive blue, trying to go to Buchnevich. Was that really the time and the place to make that play? Maybe, maybe not. I think he knew it. Of course, that and Buchnevich ends up tripping up Eichel, puts them on the power play, and that's where Jack Eichel scores the equalizer. So it's still a learning process. It's going to be a learning curve for Kyrou and Thomas along the way, or we can't expect perfection just yet. But certainly they are building in a great direction. And you're right, Thomas's line with Buchnevich and Neighbors has looked sharp over the last couple weeks.
Joe, I asked this of Jamie, and I asked this at the top of the show. The numbers when the Blues are trailing compared to when they score the first goal are, drastically different. Do you think there's anything stylistically that the Blues are doing or not doing when they're up in a game compared to when they're down?
I think the biggest thing, Stalls, that you're seeing is this is a team coming into the season that really wanted to refocus on the defensive side of things, right? They wanted to establish a stronger defensive identity. Okay, so when you do that, if you can get that first goal, you really can sit back and focus on the defensive side. But as a player, if for some reason you allow that first goal to go in, then instinctually you kind of forget, not necessarily forget, but maybe defensive isn't necessarily the priority anymore because why? You need a goal, right? You need to get that goal back. Maybe you're down by 2. So this is where I think that's where you're seeing such a drastic change when they score the first goal, right, to 12-0 when they score first. And then when they don't score first, it's kind of the other way. So I think that to me is what I'm seeing, a characteristic of this group, that when they get on the board early, they really can just everyone, all hands on deck, defensive side of things, and making sure they protect that lead. And the other thing to kind of keep in mind is, with this style, they're going to have to just be patient. And they know that. That was the biggest key takeaway last night. Craig Berube said in the morning, you got to be patient and you got to take what the other team's going to give you. And I think the Blues have done a very, very good job of that.
Joey, Scott Perunovich, he's had, good handful of games here, a little bit of a run for him in the last little while. When you're watching Scott Perunovich, what are you thinking about his play here recently, mostly on the defensive side?
I think he's been good. I do. I think his puck movement's been better. I think that he's getting used to the speed of the NHL. That's always the biggest adjustment, I think, for players when they come up for the American Hockey League, and especially when they come from college, which, keep in mind, he was there just a few years ago. And he is an established NHLer now, but he hasn't had a ton of experience, mostly because of the two injuries he's had, one on his left shoulder and the other one on his left wrist. I was watching Scott, he was doing his art machine after the morning skate yesterday, and he was hooked up and getting the electric pulses sent to his shoulders and kind of recovering and getting ready for the game. And he's just got a massive gash of a scar on his left shoulder and another one right on his left wrist. And this is a guy that's been banged up in his pro career so far. He's had a lot of surgeries, a lot of injuries that have held him out. So it's going to take, again, another player, which takes a lot of time. I noticed with the speed of the game changing, he is getting more acclimated to that. I think, Riv, this, just turning and going back quicker for pucks is a huge thing. Or if you can receive a chip in, turn, and sprint back, that gives you an extra, microsecond to really make a better decision. I think his shoulder checking's been better when he's retreating back for pucks. So at the end of the day, he's anticipating better, and that's got to be the name of the game for him. He's an undersized defenseman. He's not overly big, he's not overly physical, so he's got to depend on his feet. He's got to depend on his puck moving. And for your feet and your puck moving abilities to be at a premium level at this level, you really have to anticipate very well, and I think that's something he's getting much better at.
A couple more things for Joe Vitale here in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. Joe, are you seeing some improvements with the power play?
I am. I think the biggest area of improvement has been the net front presence of Jake Neighbors and Oscar Sundqvist. Of course, Neighbors are on that top unit and Sundqvist on that second unit. I think that for a while there, the identity was a little bit lost, where they didn't really have as strong of a net front presence player who can not only, screen, bump the goalie, take the eyes away, but also more importantly, solves, I think, just retrieving pucks. You have pucks getting shot in from the point from, let's say, a Torrey Krug or Scott Perunovich. Maybe it gets tipped and goes wide. A lot of times at the beginning of the year, those pucks were won by the opponent defenseman, and they were cleared 200 feet. I think with Neighbors, a player that's constantly playing on his toes, and Oscar Sundqvist, one of the most relentless players, I think, on this team, when those pucks get deflected into the corners and they're 50-50 battles, those guys are on top of it. They're jumping it. They're recovering them. They're moving them out to the wings, and they're right back to the setup. So, to me, that's what I see the most of. I think it's traditionally still pretty similar as far as the positioning. I think the defensemen are throwing more pucks down there because they know they have the net front presence, which is another thing. But I think at the root of it all, at the root of all the improvements we've seen, it's really been Sundqvist and Neighbors have really kind of helped establish the shot first, which has been really important.
Joey, last thing I have for you here, and I know that you and I have been in this situation before in our careers, is, you find yourself kind of on the outside looking in. Maybe you're the extra forward, the extra defenseman, you're healthy scratch for a couple games. Jacob Vrana, we know he's a very talented player, good speed, good shot, all those things. What, in your opinion, what does Jacob Vrana have to do to try and work his way back in?
I think the biggest thing that Vrana needs to do, and this is after small sample size conversations with some of the coaches throughout the last month and a half, I think the biggest thing they see in his game that needs to be adjusted is that he sometimes has to be the guy that goes in there, does the dirty work, creates separation, and gets a stop on the forecheck. I think when you have a player like Vrana who is beyond talented from a hand standpoint, he's got an incredible shot, maybe the quickest release on this team. And so when you have those weapons, a lot of times for a player like him, you have a tendency to be on the perimeter, to hang out in the weeds a little bit. You tend to be the high forward in the offensive zone, and you find yourself waiting for the puck, right? And I think for this system that Craig Berube is trying to implement, you need everyone. If there's no F1, F2 established on each line, if you're the first guy, you got to go. If you're the second guy, you have to go. You have to be in there to support. The F1 job, the first forechecker's job is to get a stop. You got to put body-body contact on the defenseman, and the puck has to stop. That's your only job, right? And the second guy comes in, and he's that layer of support where you find the puck and then you go to work. I think at times Vrana has just been that F3 guy. Even though he's maybe the closest to become an F2, he's looking to his wingers maybe or his centerman to do that work to get in there, and he wants to hang around in the slot naturally because that's where he's most gifted. But I think Craig Berube's had multiple conversations with him. It's come to the point where I think that he had to healthy scratch him because the message just simply wasn't getting through. But when Vrana does get back in, he's an incredible player. He's super talented, and we all know the lethal shot he has. But he can do himself and this team a lot of favors if he looks left, looks right. And if he's that first one or that second forechecker, he's got to be on the hunt. He's got to retrieve pucks, and he's got to get in there and do the dirty work too.
Joe, great stuff as always, man. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll check back with you next week.
Hey, sounds good, boys. You guys have a great week as well.
Thank you, sir. Joe Vitale here in the Fast Lane on 101 at ESPN. Now, let's do our Sports Six-Pack next. You got a question for us, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Again, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. We'll do our Sports Six-Pack next.
If you're in the market for your accessories for your vehicles, please visit Pure Performance. They are the best in the business. If you got a Jeep or a Bronco, they have so many great selections over there. And maybe you have an SUV, maybe a pickup truck, even a minivan. Pure Performance has everything to make your vehicle look better. Maybe it's a brand new vehicle that you want to accessorize right away. Or maybe it's a 4 or 5, 6-year-old vehicle that you're kind of like, I need to make it special again. Well, Pure Performance can help you with that. Just go over and visit them at their 25,000 square foot facility. It's located right off of Highway 70 in St. Peters. Walk in, ask for Shelby, please. Tell Shelby that Jamie Rivers sent you in. She's going to make sure that you get taken care of. And the technicians, well, they're the best in the business for a reason. You're going to get your car back, your vehicle back, and you are going to be floored at just how unbelievable it looks. And Pure Performance, they've got you covered with so many great things for all of your vehicles. So please stop by in person. If not, get there online at pureperformance.com. That's pure, P-U-R, performance.com.
It's time for the Fast Lane to answer your sports questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Asking me all these weird questions.
Answer the question.
Answer the question.
Answer me!
The Sports Six-Pack is now.
All right, time for the Sports Six-Pack here in the Fast Lane. 314-399-9646, the Air Comfort Service text line. What do you got, Marsh?
Question number one.
All right, this one it comes from the 618. Might be a stupid question, but clearly Florida State is furious and feels like they were wronged. Could you ever see them or any team in the future protesting a game by taking a knee and or walking off the field? If I were them, I'd stick it to the college football playoff / NCAA and would not participate. Hurt their ratings.
Say that again. Run that back. I want to make sure that I don't mix up the words here. Go ahead, please.
So, obviously, Florida State, a lot of their fans or players felt that they were wronged. Could you see them or any other team in the future protesting a game by taking a knee or walking off the field?
You'd only be hurting yourself. That would be my thing. You can't fight City Hall. I understand.
Greg.
I understand where this is coming from. I do, but you would only be hurting yourself. I think what you should do is you bow up against Georgia as a 14-point dog. You beat them, and you walk off the field with your head held high, knowing that you got screwed by something that is much bigger than you are. And the much bigger part, of course, is what's going to generate the most eyeballs for for advertising dollars. That's why Alabama is in, and you're not. Your quarterback got hurt, and as soon as that happened, the committee was going to look for a way to not have you in.
I mean, I know there's a lot of people that keep arguing, undefeated. This is not the same team. This Florida State team without that quarterback is not the same team. It's not.
That's why they're not in.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's exactly what I'm saying.
It's much different than did they deserve it, because I do think they deserved it.
I agree, but again, going back to what I said a couple of days ago is it's the best teams, not the best records. It's the college football panel, whatever, they select the best team, not the best record.
Why isn't Georgia in then?
Well, because they got waxed by Bama. That was the worst case scenario for that whole thing, because Texas beat Bama, Bama beat Georgia. So who's the one without a chair? It's Georgia.
Right.
Do I think Texas is better than Georgia? No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. But
you can't have Texas out if they beat Alabama in.
Yeah, but they beat Alabama what, week 3, week 4?
Still won.
I know.
Head-to-head.
But that's my problem with it is I bet you like the one that really doesn't belong for me is Texas. Out of the 4 teams that are there, the one that really doesn't belong is Texas. I would have had Georgia in there. I would have dropped Georgia to 4, Bama at 3, Michigan at 2.
Wow.
Or Michigan at 1, Washington. I would have.
Yeah, I'm not. And by the way, I'm not crying foul for Georgia. You had your opportunity, you lost. I'm not interested in seeing Georgia Bama again. Did Bama beat you? Bama beat you on neutral ground. Texas also beat Bama, so you can't leave Texas out if you're gonna include Alabama. There was no easy way to do this. Florida State should probably be in. They honestly, they should. But Jamie, you're right. I mean, they're a different team without him. They're a different team without Jordan Travis. And the committee, as soon as Jordan Travis went down, was going to look for a way to keep Florida State out. The worst case scenario just happened to play out for them.
The one thing that you have to remember is that they're undefeated right now. If they had to play their whole season over without their quarterback, they would not be undefeated right now.
Correct.
So that's why it changes things.
Question number 2.
From the 314, the Cards pre-draft order was number 5. They are now picking 7th in the 2024 MLB draft. Do you think they got screwed, or does it really matter?
I don't think it matters. I mean, I don't know the top picks this year in the MLB draft, and in terms of like how deep it is. I do know if you're somewhere in the top 10, you're going to wind up with a really good player. This is uncharted territory for the Cardinals. I'm a big believer in Randy Flores. I think he's done an outstanding job. The results are there when you're talking about guys like Brendan Donovan and Jordan Walker and Mason Wynn. I realize those aren't finished products yet, but they're on your big league roster for a reason. They've earned that spot. Nolan Gorman, he has found some guys. Hopefully he found some pitching too. But I think that Randy Flores is going to do a great job within the top 10, and the Cardinals are likely to get Hopefully they go pitching, but they're gonna get a somebody that's gonna be in their top prospect moving forward.
Ethan Holiday available yet?
I don't think he is.
Did you see that video I sent you guys?
Yeah.
My Lord.
They all can hit. They're holidays.
All three of them are hitting piss missiles right out of the park.
I mean, the genes, the hard work, everything, got it all. The Holidays have it all. Jackson Holiday is probably going to be a Baltimore Oriole next year at some point.
I would imagine.
So, yeah, remarkable. But no,
Question number 3.
I don't think the Cardinals get screwed.
From the 636, Jordan Kyrou has been in the league for 6 years, 4 of them for full seasons. At what point do you stop calling him a young player that is still learning?
How old is he? Just off the top of my head, I'm trying to think.
So he is 25.
Yeah, he's a young player. He is. I mean, it's just the way it is. He still has maturing to do. Like if you expect a finished product at 25 years old in today's NHL, where the game is evolving on a yearly basis to where things are changing, styles of play are changing, all sorts of things like that. Once he starts creeping into like 27, for me, like this is who you are now. Mm-hmm. This is who you are. And that's why usually that mark of 26 through 29 for a forward, like that's your prime. And you see a lot of guys explode offensively. Then you see them like take control of the games more.
Yeah.
So for me at 25, he's still a young kid. He's a young kid because he still has learning to do. Mm-hmm. You know, and here's the thing: you watch the games now. Sure, there's still mistakes there. But you can find mistakes with every player that's out on the ice. Jordan Kyrou is actually making some pretty sound defensive plays. He got back last night in the game, hard back check, got all the way back to the top of the slot area and broke up a play. Mm-hmm. So it's easy to just kind of cherry pick certain things that happen because you have a young player that's kind of creative and trying to maybe sometimes make something out of nothing. But again, that falls into the development side of it where he's still, this is his first full year as like a first line guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think he's still a young player.
Reps are invaluable, but you're right. There is a maturity that comes with age, too. So typically in baseball and hockey, I think 26, 27, that's definitely 20. I agree with you from 27. 27 on, you are who you are. That's not to say that you can't have like a spike season, but realistically, that's who you're going to be from 27 on.
Question number 4.
This one's from GQ from the 618. If Dallas continues to play well and earns a number 1 seed and Dak plays well, is he the MVP? And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but this is what GQ said. How about them Cowboys?
Oh. So I've heard this Dak Prescott for MVP argument over the last handful of days, and I just don't think he's worthy. Like, I know his numbers right now, but I feel like when I look at the games that he's played, like, his numbers are somewhat inflated. Because they haven't played a whole, like, am I wrong?
They have not. They played a very soft schedule thus far. They've played a Michigan type schedule.
Whatever.
Yeah. His numbers are very good. He's 5th right now in yards. He is, let's see here. He's 1st in touchdowns. He's got an unbelievable touchdown interception ratio, 26-6. I think that Dak Prescott's had an outstanding season. To your point, he hasn't faced the toughest of challenges thus far. You beat the Eagles on Sunday, and they might. They're favored to. Maybe things change a little bit.
Well, guess what? We're going to see something here because they've got the Eagles, then they're at Buffalo.
Right.
It's never going to be an easy game. I don't care what's going on. Then they're at Miami, then they play the Lions. Mm-hmm. Those are their next 4 games. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll find out all we need to know.
Yes, will tell me what I need to know about Dak Prescott.
Yeah. You know, I know that he doesn't have the same numbers this season. Patrick Mahomes is doing more now than I think he's done in previous years for the Chiefs. And he's been remarkable in previous years. I'm looking at somebody that is carrying his team to the playoffs. Josh Allen, despite all his turnovers, is almost single-handedly at this point carrying the Bills to a wild card spot. Is Dak Prescott carrying the Cowboys? I mean, he's been very good. I just don't know. I don't know if they're smoke and mirrors.
What about Tyreek Hill? If he has 2,000 yards of receiving this year, he should be the MVP.
Who?
Tyreek Hill.
I would have zero issues with Tyreek Hill winning the MVP.
What do you guys think of Brock Purdy?
I think Brock Purdy's in the discussion too. When he has had his full complement of weapons, and maybe this is the knock against him, but he has pitched some damn near perfect games this year.
Well, I think
he's made it look
easy. That is the knock, though.
Right.
He needs these other players to be good.
So do we hold that against him because he's in a system that's surrounded with talent? Would you give Jalen Hurts the MVP? Would you consider him?
No.
Because of A.J. Brown and because of Devonta Smith and because of Swift? Do you hold that against Dallas and Dak Prescott? Because he's got CeeDee Lamb and he's got a really good young tight end in Jacob Ferguson.
I wouldn't give it to Jalen Hurts because his numbers aren't good as some other quarterbacks. That's why.
So if it's just the numbers thing, then I think you got to go with Dak.
But again, I go back to the Tyreek Hill thing. If he has 2,000 yards, he should be the MVP because has that ever happened?
Tyreek Hill tilts the field. No. Well, somebody's done. I think Calvin Johnson's done 2,000, right? Or did he get close? I'll look it up. I've got no issue with Tyreek Hill winning the MVP. He tilts the field for the Dolphins every single week. And when you got boneheads like Ron Rivera or nobody's done it. Nobody's done the 2,000.
1,964.
And that was Calvin.
2012.
That was Calvin Johnson. Mm-hmm. When you have guys like Brandon Staley and Ron Rivera using man-to-man coverage on Tyreek Hill, and you see what he does. I mean, he was just, I heard somebody the other day describe it as he was just banging his head off the goal line or the goalpost.
Oh, yeah.
Last week in Washington, he was scoring so much. Marsh, I'm not going to push back on Tyreek Hill at all.
I think if you get rid of him, the Dolphins aren't nearly as good.
I think that's a fair point.
Because you could also say, oh, well, Tua, he's the one throwing the football, which is, a fair point. But you get rid of Tyreek Hill, I mean, he's scoring left and right.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting. The MVP this year is going to be very interesting. All right, what's trending is next in the Fast Lane on 101 ESPN.
Fellas, are you paying too much for your ED meds right now? I bet you are. I know that little blue pill, little gummy thing. Yeah. Don't do that. Stop it. Go see the people over at the Medicine Shop in St. Charles, your destination for cheap ED meds. They have a generic called sildenafil for less than $2 a pill. Prescription is required. And if there's any other medications that you take on a regular basis that you require, they offer free discreet shipping and delivery to either your home or your workplace. It is a fantastic program. I take full advantage of it with the travel and the craziness that is my life. The Medicine Shop takes great care of me and has my medicine waiting for me when I get home. They also have a full pharmacy, so anything that you need while you're visiting the pharmacy, they've got you covered. Any questions that you have, the staff is going to take great care of you. They're unbelievable at making sure that you're leaving there satisfied. They're my spot. They should be your spot, too. So please get over there, visit them in person, or visit them online at stcharles.pharmacy. That's stcharles.pharmacy.
sports, the Fast Lane has you covered. What's trending now?
Brought to you by Goodwill. Donate to Goodwill to win a magical Polar Express staycation.
Welcome back to the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Anthony Stalter, Jamie Rivers, I'm Andrew Marsh, and it is time for What's Trending. Guys, MLB just had their draft lottery, and we mentioned it in the Sports Six-Pack. The Cards will draft at number 7. However, the Cleveland Guardians, who were sitting at number 9 in the pre-draft, will have the first overall pick. The second overall pick will be for the Cincinnati Reds, who pre-draft were at 14. Now they are at number 2. Thoughts on the first 2 picks?
Yeah, I got thoughts. It's just like the NHL draft. It's rigged. They're trying to get one of the big players to one of the big markets.
Yeah, Anthony's right. I doubled down on that.
Thank you. It's a shame. Major League Baseball has been trying to do things right and just build up Cleveland for years. And they finally had the opportunity to do so. No, I don't know. I mean, this is just dumb luck for the Guardians. I mean, what'd you say, 9th, Marsh? They had a 2% chance, apparently. 2% chance to earn the first overall pick, and that's what happened. So, good for them. The Rockies, if you're a Rockies fan, you're an A's fan, you're a Royals fan, you're ticked off. The 4 fans for the Oakland A's are not happy.
Are you kidding? People in Vegas were thrilled. They're excited
to get the A's.
Can't wait.
Especially the A's version that are probably going to spend again.
Yes. Watch how that happens. It's going to be so funny.
Yeah.
How all of a sudden.
Oh, look, I have money.
All of a sudden.
Here, take it. Free agents. Anyways, yeah. It's cooked. Just like Bedard going to Chicago.
Couldn't agree more, Anthony.
Thank you.
Did you guys see Aaron Rodgers on Pat McAfee today?
No, what did he say?
Pat McAfee show. He was defending Zach Wilson because there was a report out that Zach Wilson was very reluctant to step back into the starting quarterback position based on how the team has treated him, probably due to how he's played and whatnot. And even Robert Saleh said he really couldn't commit to Zach Wilson being the quarterback moving forward. But Aaron Rodgers went on the Pat McAfee show and was basically defending him and basically said it was chicken blank that the media leaked something like that. He said that's a problem with the organization. We need to get to the bottom of whatever this is coming from and put a stop to it privately, because there's no place in a winning culture where, and this isn't the only time, there's been a bunch of other leaks.
You know, Aaron Rodgers and I don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but I think he's absolutely right in this case, guys. If you're a bad organization, if you're poorly run, I don't care if you're a sports franchise or, a company. If you're poorly run, stuff like this happens. And too many times with the Jets, something has been leaked. We can have the discussion about Zach Wilson and whether he should go back and all this, whatever.
I don't know if
he's
said
done.
That.
If he did say it, I would cut him. Like, you're done. You're not competitive. You have hurt feelings. You threw everybody else you threw your defense under the bus and everybody under the bus last year when you answer questions after a turnover-marred game. Do you feel like you've let down your defense? No. Okay. You don't get it. So if he doesn't want to go back in, just release him. Be done with it. But the bottom line, the big picture, I should say, the big picture is Aaron Rodgers is right. You've got a bad company here.
Yeah.
That doesn't do things the right way. And there's a leak, there's a mole, there's something in there. And something, if it's Robert Saleh or if it's Joe Douglas, somebody is a problem. Robert Saleh earlier this year, when asked about whether or not he was going to continue to play Zach Wilson, he kind of stumbled over himself and said, I plead the fifth. Why? You're the head coach. You're supposed to be a leader. It's ugly for the Jets.
Yeah.
Do you think that makes Aaron Rodgers really not want to come back this year and play for this type of team?
I think, Marsh, that the record for the New York Jets will keep Aaron Rodgers out. Not necessarily what's going on, this dysfunction.
They're, let's see here, the standings, they don't have a hope in
not really.
Heck,
no.
Do they?
Nope.
Because at one point they kind of did. The 4-8, there's no chance.
No.
Rodgers won't be back this year.
You think he's done?
No, not this year.
This year. Yeah.
He's going to be like,
Yep, I'm with you.
Earlier today, Bob Nightingale tweeted out that the Cubs' optimism of landing Shohei Ohtani has now significantly waned. One high-ranking executive said, leaving the LA Dodgers, Toronto Blue Jays, the Los Angeles Angels, and San Francisco Giants as the likely finalist. Then it came out that Jed Hoyer denies that the Cubs are out on Shohei Ohtani. If the Cubs were to land Shohei Ohtani, would that be a good thing for the Cards in terms of the Cubs not being able to really put together a full, complete roster due to the amount of money they'd spend on Ohtani? Yeah. Or is it better that he's just not on the Cubs? Like, how would you look at it if you're a Cardinals fan?
Yeah, you don't.
I'd rather him not be a Cub.
I think so too.
Bottom line.
Yeah, because even if let's just say they use that money that they didn't spend on Ohtani on 5 different players. What are the chances that any of them are anywhere close to Ohtani? What are the chances that all 5 of them are good?
And then a year from now, Ohtani's on the bump too.
Yeah, I would rather have him not in.
Yeah.
In the NL Central. Preferably not in the National League, but with the balanced schedule, I guess it doesn't matter. Just don't play in the NL Central.
Yeah.
Especially for the Cubs. So, yeah, no thank you on that. I feel like the Shohei Ohtani market is starting to heat up a little bit.
I'm hearing all sorts of craziness.
You got Mama Rivers, Blue Jays.
Yeah, the Blue Jays.
Dodgers, Angels, apparently.
I've heard that he's going to have a decision within the next 72 hours.
Really?
Now, I don't know if that's true.
Sources, Marshy?
Yeah, the internet, but probably the same sources that said Elon Musk was buying Anheuser-Busch.
It's got a lot of paperwork.
A lot. May not happen now.
Who knows?
All right, it's a Fast Lane on 101 ESPN. 511, your time check is brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Hey, you could join in the holiday spirit by helping us here at 101 ESPN support Operation Food Search throughout the month of December. We've partnered with STL Shirt Company to offer a special 101 ESPN online merch store this month, offering 101 ESPN t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Plus, we've brought back some of your favorite designs, including the Dunk shirts, the Be Patient shirts, and Jamie Rivers and Brad Thompson jerseys. You can order any 101 ESPN swag during the month of December, and proceeds from all sales will go to support Operation Food Search. Just visit the 101 ESPN online merch store now at 101ESPN.com. It's all powered by McBride Homes. Ryan Helsley had some interesting things to say on a podcast recently. Not that we disagree with much of it, but we will dissect what he said because that's just kind of what we do on the radio. That's next on 101 ESPN.
Now is the perfect time to go purchase that brand new vehicle or pre-owned vehicle and head over to Londoff Chevrolet. Holiday season, they have got amazing specials going on right now. They still have the red tag sale that's been going on since Black Friday. And their entire pre-owned inventory of cars, trucks, and SUVs, they're priced to sell. And they have financing for everyone. No matter what your credit situation is, Londoff Chevrolet has you covered. And you make sure that they get in there, and when you see them, you tell them that Jamie Rivers sent you. They've got 2 awesome locations, the original location in Florissant, Missouri, and the brand new location, the Londoff Autoplex, located out in St. Peters. Both places have great inventory, and they have pre-owned inventory as well. And don't forget about the huge inventory of the new 2024 Chevy Trax. Those are arriving daily to the Londoff Chevrolet locations. And don't forget, it's Silverado season with over $10,000 off select units. Are you kidding me? That's right. Get in there to Londoff Chevrolet. If you can't get there in person, get there online at londoff.com or londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Johnny Londoff Chevrolet.
So Ryan Helsley was on Foul Territory talking about the Cardinals' 2023 season. This is what Ryan Helsley had to say.
I think looking at it, as someone in the clubhouse, a lot of guys in there probably had one of their worst seasons, in their careers. So, it was hard on everybody, not just the front office or the coaching staff. It was hard on everybody, showing up to the field, trying to figure out a way to win. And, maybe some guys having some bad attitudes. And, I honestly don't know, but I think it was just a weird vibe all year, just coming in expecting to win our division, and rattle off a couple wins and then somehow lose 4. We found a way to lose and we can never get ourselves out of the rut, and just kind of treading water all year. And, that was my 5th season in the big leagues, and that was the first year we missed the playoffs. So it was a weird year just to, just all around the clubhouse as a whole.
So I think the biggest takeaway there is the fact that Ryan Helsley admitted that there were some bad attitudes within the clubhouse. You kind of got that sense, that vibe. Him saying that the vibes were weird, they're off. Yeah, you can kind of sense that, I thought. Whether it's the Tyler O'Neill situation earlier in the year or the Wilson Contreras story, non-story, how the Cardinals handled all that, there was just something almost every month on top of the fact that you weren't playing well. I thought the other thing that he mentioned, Jamie, was that you show up expecting to win the division. I do wonder if this team got complacent, just expecting that they were just going to win the division. And that's also an organization thing. It is. We're the Cardinals. We're just going to win the NL Central. Really? Because the Brewers have been pretty good.
Yeah.
And the Cubs spent some money and were active in free agency. So they're not just going to lay down for you.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, not that we knew in spring training, but lo and behold, the Reds got some pretty good young talent.
Yeah, boy.
So you just showing up, the days of you just showing up and winning the NL Central, it's not going to happen that way. And when the front office only does one thing, it had one goal, find a catcher. And they did. And that's it. And you kick your feet up, and then you got the team complacent coming in at spring training and say, we're just going to win. We're going to win it. That's what we do. No wonder they had no they did no grit. They had zero grit, Jamie. We're losing. I have no idea what to do. This wasn't supposed to happen. I don't think Ryan Helsley is off at all. It's just interesting that he would admit that there were some bad attitudes.
Well, it's interesting for me because I feel like there at times, he may have been involved in some of the problems himself. There's lots of rumored stories of a certain time when he didn't want to pitch 2 games in a row and didn't want to tire on his arm and, all this stuff. So I think that losing creates bad attitudes. Mm-hmm. It just does. So chronologically, I don't think the Cardinals started out with a bad attitude and then went on to lose. I think that they started out with an arrogance to them. And all I mean by that is that, to your point, they expected to just show up and win. Mm-hmm. And then when that kind of blew up in their face, they have not been faced with this kind of adversity for God knows how long. And most of the guys on this roster have never faced it.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, they start to panic. You start to blame people, blame yourself, blame your buddy, blame the coaches, blame the weather, whatever it is. And then when you're still going 0 for 18, you have a stretch of 0 for 18. Now you blame somebody else. It's the pitching coach. It's the hitting coach. It's the this.
Yeah.
So the bad attitude, that's easy to ignite those, and it's easy to feed the fire when things are going poorly. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that what Ryan Helsley said is all that shocking.
I don't either. This also plays into, I'm glad that they added grit. I'm glad that they added somebody in Lance Lynn that is not going to stand for complacency. Yeah, we could talk about what his numbers are going to look like and all that, and that matters. It does. But if you want to win, you better have a balanced clubhouse. Jamie, you know this as a former professional athlete in a locker room. You better have a balance of guys that can cut it up, know when the right time to kind of keep everything loose is, know when it's time to kind of break the ice, and then know when it's time to shut up because the leaders or the Bulldogs have to take over because it's just that time of the season and guys might be getting a little lazy or lackadaisical, and you need somebody to sharpen the teeth again. Hopefully they have that now. They certainly have it in Lynn. And I'll tell you the other guy they have it in, I know you agree with this, is Wilson Contreras.
Oh, yeah.
Dude is a competitor.
Well, I think Sonny Gray is too.
Sonny Gray.
Listen to
Good
that
point.
guy talk.
Yep. And Kyle Gibson, really, really nice guy, total pro, but I don't think he's going to put up with it either.
No, I don't think so at all. A veteran guy has a voice immediately in the clubhouse, and especially coming off of a bad year, when you get added into that clubhouse, it's not like you got to wait and earn your stripes. No, you guys were really bad last year. Mm-hmm. So, we're all here to help.
Yeah.
There are going to have to be some tough conversations. I do like, when we didn't have a chance to talk about this yet today because I was flying and you guys were starting the show, but Tyler O'Neill, that news coming out about John Mozeliak, actively shopping Tyler O'Neill. Well, it's about freaking time.
I'm glad he said it because now there's no going back.
I know, right?
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
You can try.
It gets really messy, though,
messy.
I'm sure. Actually, I've never tried it. But
You never tried that?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, me neither.
Especially not in Vegas near ham sauce.
I feel like you could shove it back in.
What?
No, that toothpaste isn't going back in.
How are you going to get that soft thing in there?
Yeah.
That's true, yeah.
You can't just shove it in. It don't work that way.
I have no reference point, but, just saying.
Right.
Very messy.
Yeah. Physics are at play there. You know?
Yeah.
Physics.
Geometry, too.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Yeah, the angles.
All those things. Mm-hmm. But you're right.
Toothpaste.
You're right.
Yeah.
It is good that he got it out there now, and we'll see what you get for Tyler O'Neill. As a team, you have to be willing to take whatever you can.
Yeah.
Because you've got it out there now. You can't be like, well, let's see how spring training goes.
Right. Exactly. That's why I'm glad he said it.
I know.
You can't. There's no going back on it now.
The only thing that sucks about it, though, is now teams are like, okay, he definitely wants for him. We'll offer you a an A-ball outfielder who's 35.
We'll take the other A-ball outfielder that's 22, but it's got no shot. We'll just go with the young guy. But yeah, the Tyler O'Neill situation. I don't know. I don't know that Tyler O'Neill was one of the guys that Helsley's talking about that has a bad attitude. I don't even know it has to be a bad attitude.
Well,
okay.
What?
When I think of bad attitude, I think of doesn't want to be here, just negative all the time. Would you classify Tyler O'Neill that way, or does he fall more into the camp of I'm going to protect myself. I know what's best for myself. It doesn't matter what the team's saying. I'm not willing to run through a wall. At some point I want to make a nice contract, even though I haven't earned it.
That's a bad attitude.
Oh, okay.
That's
fair.
That's not a winning attitude.
There you go.
And so therefore, for me, that falls
semantics, but that's not a winning attitude.
It's not a winning attitude, and that falls under bad attitude. Because how the heck are you going to go and for lack of better words, go to war with your teammate, right? And the guy, he's not even he's saying, I'm good.
Is it a Tuesday? Are we on turf? I'm not playing.
All of those things.
This is an interesting question that I just thought of in my head.
Boy, what balls on him, huh? He's already calling it interesting. He's like, I thought of a very interesting question.
And Jamie,
would you guys like to hear it?
Whatever, Anthony. Jamie, you'd be able to answer this question, but does the way that someone portrays themselves on the ice or on the field, will that affect how some of their teammates look at them off the field or off the ice? Whether or not they like them or not? They could be the nicest dude, but if they're not putting in that work on the ice or on the field, will that affect that relationship off the ice or off the field?
Yeah, so let's not get confused here. Your teammates first, your friends second. Mm-hmm. It's literally how it works. We're programmed that way to whatever jersey we put on, we go to work with those guys. If they become your friends after, well, that's fine, But the number one thing you're trying to do is go win hockey games or go win baseball games. Mm-hmm. And if your teammate has a crappy attitude, whether it's a non-winning attitude or just a bad attitude, that carries over all the. Who the hell wants to hang out with that guy?
Right.
All right, let's go out for a beer with that guy. He seems like a lot of fun.
Right.
No, it doesn't. No, it definitely affects everything.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could consider them to be like a narcissist if they are acting one way in the locker room or in the clubhouse, and then away from that, they're like the nicest dude, right? It almost seems like mind games that you're playing with your teammates.
Yeah, some two-faced. Yeah, two-faced.
Yeah.
And by the way, so the Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, requested $1 million from the budget for FSU to sue the committee over snub and let the chips fall where they may.
Oh, right.
I'm no lawyer, but I don't know what grounds you can sue the committee on that for. It's its own entity. they kind of govern themselves. I mean,
I guarantee they've got their own little handbook that's all written up there.
I'm sure too.
It's fine.
Yeah, and there's more than enough loopholes, I think, for the committee. But hey, good for the Florida governor for
go for it. I don't care. I'm here for it. I'll pull up a chair and watch.
Good effort. All right, our biggest question of the day is next on 101 ESPN.
This is the time of year when everybody is thinking of the perfect gift for the holidays, something that everyone will love and something that is easy to purchase. We have that for you. It's called Sound Story. And Sound Story is a professionally produced hour-long conversation in which you or your loved ones are interviewed by your choice of one of our professional interviewers, including Randy Carricker, Tim McKernan, our very own Anthony Stalter. And all it is a conversation that includes their experiences, whether it be childhood, maybe at school, college, career, meeting that special someone. And you get all of that recorded for you, and that creates your sound story. And you have that forever. And that's the best part about it is, can you imagine being able to listen to an interview of your grandparents or your great-grandparents with your children or your grandchildren? Because you have it forever. That's what Sound Story is. It's a perfect gift for you or your loved ones. Don't miss out this holiday season. All you have to do is go to mysoundstory.com, enter promo code ESPN to get this holiday special of 20% off of a gift certificate for Sound Story. Again, that's promo code ESPN at mysoundstory.com. Sound Story, for you, for them, forever. E&B Granite is your one-stop shop if you're looking to upgrade your kitchen or your bathroom. Maybe you haven't been down there before, well, let me tell you, it's really easy to get there. It's located at 6135 Manchester Avenue. And just walk in and tell them that Jamie Rivers sent you in. They're going to ask you what you're looking to do, whether it's your kitchen or your bathroom. For me, it was a kitchen. And I went in. I didn't really have a vision. I knew I wanted to upgrade everything. Sales representative just walked me through the process. We went into the back of the warehouse where I got to pick the countertop. They have countertops that are granite, quartz, marble, soapstone. It was so easy. It was awesome. Got to see the entire slab so you could see the pattern of it and you can see the actual vision. And then the technicians take over. They measure everything, take out all the old stuff. They install your brand new countertops, your cabinets, your backsplash, whatever it is you're going for, and they do it to perfection. So please call over there. Get an appointment with them. That number is 314-645-9300. That's 314-645-9300. Or visit them at embgranite.com.
ESPN Sports Center.
I'm Andrew Marsh. It's time for a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues picked up a victory last night in Vegas. 2-1 the final in overtime over the Golden Knights. Jordan Binnington stopped 33 of 34, and the Blues will look to continue tomorrow night on home ice as they take on the Golden Knights once again. Pregame starts at 7. Puck drop is at 8. And you can catch all the action right here on 101 ESPN. If you missed anything from today's show, make sure you go to 101ESPN.com or check out the free 101 mobile app. It's all brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We have our biggest question of the day coming up next. I'm Andrew Marsh, and the Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, independent American standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
It's time for the Fast Lane's biggest question of the day.
All right, you heard that big voice there. Time for the biggest question of the day. Jamie Rivers, Anthony Stalter. Here's Andrew Marsh.
All right, guys, we got a text earlier today from the 618 reacting to our conversation with Joe Vitale. And this is what the 618 had to say. Based on what Joey V said about Jakub Vrana, I don't ever see him being that player in the corner, first or second. Do you think he can be, or should the Blues move on? Is he a Mike Hoffman?
That's a good question. Look, I think he can be. It's just a player that he's got to be willing to do it. And I don't know, being that type of player isn't always in every player's chemical makeup. But if you're looking at all the top players in the NHL right now, or even your second, third line guys, they're competing. They're getting in on pucks. They're hungry on loose pucks. Like, nobody's able to just stand around and get rewarded for it. I mean, even if you look at a guy like Alex Ovechkin, everybody thinks, oh, he just stands there and shoots the puck. Watch him. Watch him in a game. Watch what he does. Watch how physical he is. Watch how hard he competes for loose pucks. And the fact that he's able to score goals from there, yeah, he's tremendously talented, but he also does a lot of other things in the game, too. So is he Mike Hoffman? I wish. I mean, Mike Hoffman was a player that not everybody was thrilled with as far as his 200-foot game goes, but what did he have, 17 goals for you?
Right.
And he was, I think there were 16 on the power play.
Yeah.
Like, he produced, he was a power
sniper.
play. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think Jacob Vrana's in tough right now. I think that he's on a team that needs every single player. And if not every player's involved, then you got to pick another player that's going to play.
Well, today's NHL, I don't think you get away with just kind of being a scorer, right? I mean, unless, like you said, you're on a team where you've got everything else in place and everything opens up for you. But I mean, you better be one of the top scorers in the league, and that's not Vrana. So, what do you always say, Jamie? Chiefs giving you the answers to the test.
Well, yeah.
Once you play a certain way, you're not. You're going to find yourself out of the scratch.
And Craig Berube, I don't believe, based on what I've heard from him in talking to the media and just in general about it, he doesn't want to change him as a player. He doesn't want to have, he's not going to try and turn him into Oscar Sundqvist.
Right.
Or Sammy Blais, where he's running over people all over. Like, that's not what the coaching staff is asking of Jacob Vrana. They're just asking that he competes on a regular basis.
If you want the dessert, you got to eat your meat and vegetables and everything else. You got to eat for dinner.
100%. And if you look at the other players that are on this team, like they're working. Mm-hmm. Like Robert Thomas has really picked it up this season. He's been working really hard in the offensive zone, loose pucks. Pavel Buchnevich is a dog on a bone out there. Yeah. Jake Neighbors, same thing. Like, if you look at the overall theme of the team, like, not everybody plays well every night, but there's usually a certain compete level there. And I think that Jacob Vrana has got that mentality of he's an offensive goal scorer, which is fine because he is a very talented player who can find the back of the net, but he's got to get in there and do some of the heavy lifting too.
Right.
And I think that that's the problem right now is I don't know if the player's unwilling to do it or if he just doesn't realize that he's not doing it.
Yeah.
Either way, you got to fix it.
We did get a text from the 314, another good question from Matt. Do you think that the Blues system is too demanding on a nightly basis? Is this why we see such drastic inconsistency out of this team? They can be the best team in the NHL one night and one of the worst teams the next night.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the systems. I think it's just kind of where you're at as a hockey club right now. And, you know, I don't think they get tired because they win one game and they have to go lose the next game. To me, that's just false because Vegas Golden Knights and other teams that play a very demanding style of hockey, too, they go out and win quite a bit. So, no, that doesn't fly for me. For me, it's just the fact that you still have a team that you're managing your way through a retool here. And you're going to have the nights where some things are more consistent. We have other nights where things are going to be less consistent. And I think that's what we've seen here recently. And in the last stretch of games for the Blues, it's been win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. At least they haven't strung together, 2 or 3 losses in a row, which is good. Now you'd like to see the flip side of that, put together 2 or 3 in a row before you lose. But this is what it is, man. This is what this season's going to be.
Have we overrated this whole system thing? Like, have we
Anthony, I'm so tired of it.
Blown out of proportion?
I'm so tired of it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a number of teams in the NHL, like half the NHL plays the same freaking style. Like, I'm just saying. Like, I'm there.
Well, I made the point earlier today, Jamie, when we were talking about the inconsistencies of the Blues. They're not the only team that's inconsistent in the NHL. No. We just focus on them. And a lot of the people in this room had the Blues in the playoffs.
I still do.
So do I. The majority of the national public or the national media for hockey had the Blues out of the playoffs. And I think Blues fans are somewhere in the middle. I didn't hear anybody saying this should be the best team in the league or this should be among the best team in the leagues. Yet every question I feel like has been, why can't they be more consistently great? Because they're not. They're an inconsistent team.
This is your team right now.
They're a fringe playoff team.
Yeah.
Hopefully they won't be this way all season long. Hopefully they build some momentum. They kind of find out who they are and they play to that. But if not, they're a team that's going to be maddening heading into the playoffs or down the stretch trying to make a playoff spot. That's what this type of team is. You go to baseball, the fringe teams are the ones that are maddening. You don't know what you're going to get from a week-to-week basis. Look at most of the NFL. If you're if you're a fan of a team right now that's 6-6, Marsh, me, you don't know what you're going to get each week. It's the same thing with the Blues. But there's a lot of teams in the NHL that are playing at a consistent level as well. You didn't have Colorado's talent, but you knew that. You didn't have Vegas's talent, but you knew that. So I don't know where. Yeah. I don't know where like this. They should be playing better. I think they are what they are.
They are what they are
at this point.
If the power play was more consistent and they didn't have a couple of stumbles out of the gate for a couple of games, his team could have 3-4 more wins.
Yeah.
At this point, which would be a big difference maker. But still, they're still competing out there. They're competing with some of the big dogs too. Vegas, that's a big win. The Avalanche was a big win. Playing Tampa, that was a big win. Like you have some pretty good wins already this season. Now, the schedule's going to get a little tougher, but you know what? Maybe it's what they need because the Blues seem to rise their level of play to who they're playing against.
Yeah, so thus far they have. All right, it's Fastlane on 101 ESPN. Apparently, we heard from John Foe, Saylock. So you're going to get a mic drop from Foe next on 101 ESPN.
Cheap, cheap, fun, fun. Dirt Cheap, St. Louis's one-stop party shop. They have fantastic selection of all your favorite beers, your wines, your spirits. And at Dirt Cheap, they pride themselves on having a great selection for everyone to enjoy. And they also pride themselves on giving you the best prices available. They've got fantastic list of bourbons, too, from Bullet to Elijah Craig, Angels, Envy. They just keep going all over the place with some of the high-end stuff, too. I've seen some Blantons in there. They've got a raffle going on right now. So many great things happening over at Dirt Cheap. They also have an app to make your life easier. Download the app and you get even more savings and discounts there. There's certain clubs you can join and be a part of. You can order online and go pick up your order from the Dirt Cheap location. Most locations have a drive-thru available. So please go by and visit any Dirt Cheap location. Tell them Jamie Rivers sent you in. You won't be sorry. And remember, be careful out there. Jamie, when you're purchasing a house, it's your largest financial investments. Why wouldn't you get a second opinion when it comes to your loan? And we've got the perfect guy to do it with. It's Stewie. So maybe your realtor is saying, go with my lender. No problem. Follow the process. Double back, though, and make sure that you're not leaving money on the table, because Stewie's got outstanding programs like the Bagel Loan. Yeah, he does. And Stewie, one thing I love about Stewie is the old school customer service. No matter what the day it is, the time it is, he's going to help you, and he's got a program probably readily available for you. If not, he'll think of one. That's the best part about having Stewie at our disposal, is that we don't have to worry about how the market's going. We don't have to worry about interest rates. We don't have to worry about any of that, because we just pick up the phone and we call Stewie, and we call him on his personal cell phone number. That number is 314-324-4440. Again, 314-324-4440. Call him, text him, day, night, weekend, holidays, doesn't matter. Stewie's our guy. He needs to be your guy. But, Anthony, if you can't remember that number, what can you do? You can always Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
if you missed anything from today's show, which included 2 hours of me and Dan McLaughlin, and then 2 hours of Jamie Rivers coming in hot from Vegas, you can download the podcast available at 101ESPN.com or on your 101 ESPN mobile app. All brought to you by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We're not done, though. We have a mic drop, courtesy of the free 101 ESPN app from John Foselak.
Maybe.
Apparently, this is on Tyler O'Neill. Fo, what do you got?
So, one thing that live TV can bring out of you is regret, right? So obviously I mentioned that we'd be open to trading O'Neill, and at the time we were, but Gersh actually made a pretty compelling point today. And when you look at a guy like Shohei Ohtani, for example, not only does he bring immense talent, but he also brings a unique economic impact, right? When you factor in he's bringing the country of Japan with him. So, Gersh mentioned that Tyler O'Neill, he's the Shohei Ohtani of Canada, right? And I think there's value there. I think we need to probably go back and look at past ticket sales and where they came from. If we're seeing an influx of tickets coming from Edmonton, Vancouver, Alberta, maybe even Montreal, I think that could be attested to Tyler. And, that's where maybe we look at moving a guy more so like Jordan Walker and giving Tyler a shot, because he could maybe impact the play on the field, but we know he's going to impact butts in the seats, and that's what it all boils down to.
Fall brings up a lot of good points. Jordan Walker, I believe, is from Atlanta, right? They're from Atlanta. I think he's from Atlanta. The Braves already have a team. Atlanta is a very transient city too, where a lot of people aren't from Atlanta. They move to Atlanta. So the economic impact of somebody like Jordan Walker for the Cardinals, as opposed to the Shohei Ohtani of Canada and Tyler O'Neill, I think Fall brings up a really good point, and one I certainly hadn't thought of.
Yeah, can't imagine why we didn't.
I love when he brings in Gersh. Gersh brought up a good point. If he starts calling him Gershy, it'll be over the top.
Be awesome.
Nice job, Fo. Well said. All right, what do we got for criticisms and compliments?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up the Snake Pit. They're debating on right now who should be the mayor of the Snake Pit, and I got a vote as lead Viper. Pit. So we'll see what the Snake Pit ends up doing. But I think
wouldn't it be King Cobra?
You would think so, but hey, we don't make the rules.
Yep, that's true.
Does,
they do their thing.
I'm interested to see if they'll make me lead Viper or if they'll choose someone from the Snake Pit, which I won't be too upset if they go with somebody in the Snake Pit YouTube chat. So
well, maybe they can choose a King Cobra for the Snake Pit, and you would still be lead Viper.
Yeah, I don't know. Where would that put me? Would that put me at first in command, second in command?
I think that would put you second, but only because...
Like 1A, 1B.
Yeah. It makes you Michael Gersh.
I think it makes you Gershy.
Yeah, I think I'd rather just be Andrew Marsh right here in the fast lane.
That's
monitoring
it's up to you.
The Snake Pit.
Hey, you know what? You, Andrew Marsh, you're enough. You hear me? You're enough. Okay? We love you exactly the way you are, unconditionally. So I'm glad that you're just going to be you. But I do hope you're in the title of lead Viper.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It would be pretty sweet. We did get a text from the 314 just thanking us for addressing the text message. That was Matt from the 314 when we were talking about the Blues defensive system. And, of course, Jamie and you, Anthony, came to the conclusion that, it's not the defensive system. But nevertheless, we appreciate the text message.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Listen, I fully admit that I get into the X's and O's of sports. I mean, Jamie and I've asked Jamie, went over to his cubicle there and said, hey, break down this play for me. I want to learn more about this. But I just said, whether I looked at you or just came to the realization on my own, Jamie, or a combination of the two, that maybe we're just overhyping the system for the Blues.
Well, it was a big topic of discussion in the offseason, and the Blues had to tighten up defensively, specifically in the D zone.
Yeah.
They did that, but then so much got blown. It's the new D system.
Right. It's causing the offensive issues.
No, it's not. Really not.
It's too complicated.
It's too strenuous.
Right.
Gator Bait in the snake pit says that I am already in command. I choose what to read. It's my job responsibility. So
that's a great point.
I feel like these
We'll
are all
see.
Marshy's buddies. Like I
think they respect Marshy.
No, but I feel like this could legitimately be some of Marshy's buddies that are in here.
I don't think it is, but now they are.
They fake names and like whatnot. And
well, Jamie, I think what you're trying to say is that we're all friends here in the Fast Lane,
we are,
including
but
the Snake Pit.
I just feel like it's like Marshy's boys, you know? I don't know. It wasn't a negative comment. I don't know why it's taken.
It felt like an open-faced crab sandwich.
Oh, really? Why?
You just opened up the bread and you slapped the crap there, and then you passed it along as a sando.
Whatever.
I don't think it was.
Hey, you know what? I'll take that as, let's just say hypothetically, this is the situation. I got all my buddies listening to the show.
That's right.
We're watching
Absolutely.
it.
Yep. We're
in
all
the
friends
snake
here.
pit.
We're all friends, even the ones that are very personal and critical.
You know, I'm no stranger to online friends. Playing video games and whatnot. Sometimes you play with random people and then you become friends with them.
Sure.
That happened a few years ago playing NHL.
Yeah, you played Cardell Jones and Madden the one time.
No, I didn't play that.
You whooped you pretty bad, Marsh.
I became friends with a bunch of Canadian fellas.
Did you?
Playing NHL. I was in a Facebook group with them.
Really? Really?
I've never met these people in my life.
What'd you call the group?
I forgot what it was called. I'll have to look that up.
FB NHL Friends Forever?
No.
With the 4, the number 4 as opposed to the...
Oh, actually, I can't say what the group name is.
Oh, boy. Okay.
I just looked it up. I didn't come
keep
up
your
with
sticks
it.
on the ice.
Keep your sticks on the ice.
Forever?
Absolutely.
Watch out for the high sticking.
Yep.
We did get a text from the 636 complimenting John Fozelak for a top-tier mic drop. Funny stuff.
Yeah, well done there. Well done. I always like when Foe gives us something to think about. And Shohei Ohtani being, or the Tyler O'Neill being the Shohei Ohtani of Canada. It really puts things in perspective.
It does.
We just had Jamie's Vacation Speedo text in. Probably, I'd say, a top 10 text since I've been working here. Wow. The Snake Pit sounds like what Jamie calls his Speedo.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's actually trademark pending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What snake do you think it would be, Anthony?
I think we all know, Jamie. I think we all know.
Moving along.
Would it be Lead Viper or would it be King Cobra?
Sure. It's up to Jamie. Anaconda.
Anaconda squeeze. From the 314. Shout out to Danny Mac today as well. Great work as always.
Dan always brings the heat. Love Dan. He's outstanding. He's always well prepared. He's always got nuggets. Then he always says, I cut you off too much. No, you don't, Dan. We love you.
Danny's out of the bullpen a lot.
He has been. He's been fantastic.
Very much so.
Love Dan.
Got a text from the 314. I want to join the Snake Pit. Well, you can. You just go on YouTube, go to our channel.
I think everybody's involved or allowed to be in the Snake Pit.
Yep.
It's our Air Alliance Team YouTube channel at 101 ESPN STL. That's the Snake Pit.
You just put in a name, apparently any name, and you can get in here.
Have you guys ever been a part of like a fan club or anything like that?
No.
No
Jamie Rivers fan club?
No. But I'm hoping to join a fan club at some point. I'm waiting through my options, you know, Marsh?
Yeah, I mean, you're already part of the club.
What club is that?
Yeah, Missouri Athletic Club.
That's right. You set me up. I missed it. I missed the fastball right down the middle, center cut. Yeah, that's right. I thought you were going with like the Taylor Swift fan club or something.
No. Oh, gosh.
That's expansive.
The Swifties.
When do we start talking about that being a problem, too? That the Chiefs won, or lost, excuse me, while she was there.
I think it's already a problem.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing's a problem.
I could see Travis Kelce retiring.
Listen, I think it's a big problem that she is dating Travis Kelce, yet she didn't tell us that she had a relative playing for the Eagles.
Whoa.
So maybe she's intel for the Eagles and she's getting it back to...
This is all Jason Kelce's work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the mastermind in this whole thing.
Sure. Yeah. I just don't know what her intentions are from a fame or money standpoint, but I don't like it.
By the way, the text line says that you are a Dave Matthews Band fan.
Oh,
Part of
the
that
club.
fan
Yeah.
club.
That's
Why would we
the
end
gift
on that?
Hey, Christmas time, we're getting him signed up for that. That's
To hell
his
with
gift.
that. See ya.